A holy angel descends to the mortal realm. Everyone is overwhelmed by her beauty. Yet this man strides through the crowd with cold indifference. Then he cruelly snaps the angel's wings. Because only he knows that the angel before him is nothing more than a bloodthirsty killer. In fact, the man has endured 98 cycles of reincarnation. During his 99th reincarnation, with nothing but a sigh, he became the strongest man. And he was the sole survivor. But when Ryumin prepared to enter the final challenge that would end it all, the system announced that activating the defense formation required at least 5 players. Unable to meet the requirement, he could only watch as his body gradually disintegrated. Yet his gaze held no trace of regret, because Ryumin knew well that after his death, that familiar sound would ring out again. Congratulations, you have successfully activated the return emblem. But little did he expect that this system notification would be unlike any before. His count of time reversals had now reached its limit, meaning that if this 100th attempt fails, he will truly perish. Will Ryumin complete the mission to escape this world? Or will he meet his end here? Let's follow our protagonist's journey. The scene opens with a temple aglow with countless lights, and throngs of people gathered below. The moment has finally arrived. Everyone, when you have 5 seconds left, join us in the countdown. Amidst the bustling crowd, a young man with his face hidden under a cap radiates a powerful, mysterious aura as he stands among the surrounding countdown. 5. Ryumin looked up, not expecting what would come next, while those around him continued counting. 4. He couldn't help but feel anxious and mutter a curse. He glanced at his hand and realized he had returned. His body trembled with fear, having come back just in time before being dragged into this damned game. He clenched his fist. Even though he had reached the final round, the countdown persisted without pause. Only Ryumin was not celebrating the new year. If he could, he'd wish time to freeze right at this moment. His system then appeared, announcing that he had used 100 out of 100 time reversals. At last, the moment had arrived when he had to decide. After all, this was his final attempt. No longer needing to hide, he pulled off his cap, resolving to end this game once and for all. Ryumin scanned the crowd, seeking for more companions to join him in the final round. Who would be the most suitable to form his team? A few minutes earlier, young Min, dejectedly, heard his friends exclaim, "Finally, we've become adults." The two ahead were chatting animatedly, with no pretense whatsoever, of course. They were as noisy as a bunch of children, while the balding guy could only sigh. After graduating, what am I supposed to do? Maybe try food delivery? And hey, that girl looks just like Seo Ahn, the actress. The two in front continued bickering loudly. Then Arian, exasperated, asked the balding guy, "Young Min, what are you planning to do?" And he suddenly replied, "Me." He nonchalantly answered, "Didn't I say? I'm going to join the underworld." His friends expressed concern. "You crazy? One wrong move and you could die. You're not serious, young Min." He shrugged and retorted, "Forget it, you only live once. I just want to live my way." Outwardly, they chuckled, but inwardly they all hatched the same outrageous plan. That lunatic, once he graduates, will sever all ties with him. Then one of Ryumin's friends asked, "So, after graduating, what are you going to do about that errand runner?" He paused, then added, "You mean that miserable, perpetually gloomy guy?" Then he laughed and said, "I can't forgive him just because I graduated," while his friends teasingly remarked, "Damn, he really thinks everything ends after graduation. What a bastard." Young Min, in a mischievous tone, added, "He doesn't get to decide when this ends. I must tease him as much as possible." While chatting, one of his friends suddenly pointed and shouted, "Wait, isn't that your errand runner?" Ryumin's figure weaved through the crowd, and a voice over the loudspeaker proclaimed, "At last, the moment has come. Everyone, when there are 5 seconds left, join us in the countdown." He grinned as the countdown began. "That's my errand runner, 5. But then he suddenly noticed the halo surrounding Ryumin. His eyes widened. The more he looked, the stranger it appeared, those two bastards. And at that very moment, Ryumin slowly removed his cap. He turned and locked eyes with Ryumin. This made him uneasy. "You're different today, aren't you?" Young Min's temper flared up as he exclaimed, "Happy New Year, you crazy. Why do you keep staring at me like that? Your friends are forced to butt in. It's New Year's Eve. You still have time to pick on him." In the crowded throng, he dared not cause a scene and muttered, "That bastard, I'll let him off today." The chubby guy in the group, hiding his face, finally declared, "At last, I'm an adult." Neighbors exchanged New Year's greetings. "Happy New Year, may all your wishes come true." But suddenly a strange voice rang out, "How laughable, you're celebrating the new year without realizing you're in a state of emergency." Youngmin was incensed by those words. "What did you just say?" The young man quickly denied, "I didn't say anything," while the one in the middle looked up and said, "What did I just hear?" High above, an angel was slowly flapping her wings, watching them in complete shock. Despite her beauty, she spoke words that were devastatingly cutting, as if she were watching a bunch of monkeys in a cage. The onlookers stared at the radiant halo in utter bewilderment, exclaiming, "Is that an angel? Is a TV station hosting a New Year's event? If they say it's real, then I believe it, she's stunning." Ryumin also looked up, and unsurprisingly, she had appeared. Even after 99 cycles, she still looked utterly displeased. That woman gently concealed her faint smile. Then she declared disdainfully, "You wretched humans, you all seem to have crumbled before my beauty, haven't you? But don't get any funny ideas, I have no intention of fraternizing with you vermin." The angel, amused, observed, "I take pleasure in watching you. Judging by your reactions, you must have heard my voice already." Suddenly, an older man pointed and shouted, "What's wrong with you? Are you impersonating an angel or something? And what do you mean by calling us vermin?" Ryumin, upon hearing the outburst, wondered, what does she mean by that, damn it, and silently thought, truly shameful. The angel's smile instantly faded, and her eyes turned red with seething anger. That audacious man exploded in fury before countless onlookers. A young man nearby saw blood splattering everywhere and trembled. He screamed in terror, startling the entire crowd. Youngmin was also taken aback, exclaiming, "Damn, what the hell is that?" That angelic woman pointed at them and sneered at the one who'd just been punished. "How can a despicable human dare to speak to someone of my superior species with such an attitude?" Now, everyone's face was filled with fear. She stopped joking and got down to business. "Surely you are all very confused by the current situation. How could you inferior humans possibly know what's happening? The game has begun. For the first rule, I will explain it simply and clearly, so listen carefully." Ryumin sighed, having to listen to the explanation once again. The angel's body shone brilliantly as her voice echoed, "Now, we will begin a game. We will play 20 rounds on the first day of each month. On that day, human souls will be transported into a new dimension to play a game." The smile on the angel's lips was very warm as she returned to that relaxed state. Humans need only do one thing. The people were forced to obey everything she said without question, completing the task. If you complete the task, you will be able to return to reality with a reward. The fat guy whispered, "What is she saying?" His friend replied, "It seems that she will let us live if we complete a few tasks." Anticipating what the humans were thinking, the angel added, "You might think that she'll let you live if you complete a few tasks, but not everyone can survive just by finishing them. That is the key point," she said, "only half of the participants will be spared." The small hope that had just been ignited in the people's hearts was immediately snuffed out. "That can't be, how could it be?" Her smile hadn't faded, meaning there was still more to say. "But don't worry, I'm not taking you all away." The crowd grew rowdy and disorderly, causing Ryumin only to sigh in exasperation. What did she mean by that? "Shut up already." He looked at her and sank into his own thoughts. Only those between 15 and 29 years old had to participate. Back when I was swept into this game during the new year, I never imagined I would encounter it 100 times like this. A middle-aged man beside him clutched his hand tightly, exclaiming joyfully, "I'm alive. I'm going to live." The young man next to him cursed under his breath. He incited, grabbing the old man's shirt, "You're happy to be alive? Why are you mocking us?" The old man panicked, unable to explain what on earth was happening. Youngmin, at the back and more level-headed, raised his voice to warn his friend, "Stay still, don't you see what's happening? Didn't you see that guy whose head just exploded?" Having finished announcing the rules, the angel moved on to tally the numbers. It appears that the total number of participants will be 9,290. She stretched out her hand to emit a blinding light. "Now that I've finished explaining, let's begin the game." Ryumin was transported to a space that was completely white. His face remained unchanged as the angel's words echoed in his head. "Now, you are all in a space where you cannot see each other." Now, a mirror appeared before him. "Before transferring your soul, you need to create a body." Ryumin slowly reached out to the glass. "You have only one chance, so choose carefully." Not wanting to waste any time, he quickly finished, just as he normally would. The image reflected on the mirror gradually changed. His nickname would be. His hair fluttered silently as he chose his familiar nickname, Hackcore. The spatial area for the first game was created, a vast, empty green meadow appeared. Ryumin's new body slowly stepped into that space. With a more mature face, he now bore the name Hackcore and a refined appearance. This will be the 100th regression. He even flexed his arms to test his abilities. He had used the same appearance because this was his 12th trial, so he felt as if this truly was his own body. Shortly thereafter, the players were released one after another into the empty land. What is this place? 1D? Is that it? My body really changes. I even tried using the face of a celebrity. Wow, it actually works. Ryumin glanced at several names deliberately crafting flashy appearances. Everyone was trying their best to look their best this time, but if you have any brains at all, you shouldn't do that. That girl was extremely happy with her radiant face, even though it was very dangerous. This world belongs to those with the strongest survival skills. The more attractive you are, the easier you become a target. If you die in this world, you die in the real world as well. Ryumin paused his concern for others to search for a name. It was almost time. The name, Ryumin, strode forward with an incredibly imposing aura. Here I come, wild Ryumin. He wasn't at all surprised by his choice. This time he had again chosen a muscular body. The angel quickly returned and looked at you all. It seems you all love my new interface, don't you? I just love seeing your terrified expressions. Let me see, a total of 9,290 people. That's the total number of people in Seoul. The crowd looked around and wondered, 1.8 million? That doesn't seem like much. That woman mocked, shaking her head, truly, you lowly humans. Suddenly, she became angry and shouted, do you think this is the only space? Humans will be divided among different planes with other angels and will engage in rounds of battle. Focus on yourselves. Before we really begin, I'll explain briefly. While she was still instructing, Ryumin quickly learned how it operated. First, think of it as the status window in your head, status window. It immediately appeared, displaying the following information. Status window. Name, Ryumin. Nickname, HKK, trainee. Level, 1. Quiz. No title. Strength, +3. Intelligence, +3. Agility, +3. Luck, +3. Stat points, 0. Skills, normal skill, none. Special skill, none. Passive skill, none. Supplemental skill, unknown. Unlocks at level 10, 20, 40, 60, locked at level 99. He felt annoyed, just wanting to sigh. The angel up high called out, now, look at your status window. You'll realize just how pathetic you are if you've ever played a game before. Youngmin also watched her as she offered a few words of encouragement. Become stronger if you wish to survive until the end and conquer round 20. After the dark angel removed the cloth from her eyes, she declared, not only will you be set free, but you will also be granted a wish. And the way she flipped it open with a rosy blush had already stirred countless people's wishes. Really? No way. The angel continued, however, you must be the first to obtain it. She lifted the corner of her mouth in a smile. Finally, let's talk about your inventory. Look inside, I have prepared a gift for you. Youngmin tried to recall the keyword she had mentioned and was startled as the system interface changed along with the inventory. He touched the screen and read the information on it, an arbitrary ancient rune stone. A red ruby stone was placed in the inventory as a starting gift. You see, this arbitrary ancient rune stone can only be used once. You can only use it at level 1, and it is the only item given to you at the start. You can use it by holding it and thinking, use dot. Youngmin extended his hand and followed the instructions to use it. Real power surged forth, making his eyes widen in astonishment. Having completed his task, the angel quickly concluded, look at that expression. You all aren't happy. No matter what the result, you must accept it, it is your fate. She raised her hand and formed an ancient rune sign. Now, let's begin, shall we? A sharp sound echoed as the nightmare began. The first task was immediately assigned to the players. Round 1, each person must defeat 100 goblins in the safe zone. The numbers following appear to be live game statistics, listing total participants and eliminations in various areas. The goblins were created and equipped with some crude weapons. Only one goblin had appeared, so the crowd still felt complacent, gathering and asking one another, is that a goblin? It really feels like we're playing a game. Are we truly in a virtual world? Have we been kidnapped for some experiment? The angel gently produced countless additional lights. It's too early to get excited, I haven't summoned all the goblins yet. At this moment, the new players frowned apprehensively. Wait, are there really that many of them? She announced an uneven matchup. 10,000 people will fight 50,000 goblins, fight to the death. As soon as she finished speaking, the low-level goblins gaped and charged forward. The new players, utterly bewildered, could only watch as they ran toward them. Don't come any closer. Amid the chaotic scene, a single person's footsteps steadily approached. Ryamin pushed past the fearful ones to move toward the monster. They desperately shouted, "What's wrong with you? You're heading straight for the monster. Wait, he's getting too close. It's dangerous." Ignoring the meaningless warnings, his eyes turned red and his body began to twist. Ryamin swung his leg and delivered a heavy blow directly to the goblin's head. The ordinary players gaped in astonishment. Whether you are in a group or an organization, that initial impression. What he did had a purpose of its own. It was extremely important to leave a deep impression in their minds. The goblin was struck by the rock, its face splintered as it was sent flying backward. It fell flat onto the ground, and its small knife was also knocked away. Ryamin immediately picked up that knife and continued with the plan he had devised so that those pesky flies wouldn't dare to disturb him. He needed to show his strength. He didn't attack right away. Instead, he paused for a moment to look up, and the most important thing was the angelic woman, who let out an exclamation of delight, for he needed to capture her attention. No sooner had one goblin fallen than two others charged in as if to sacrifice themselves, so it seemed he'd have to put in a little extra effort for this show. Ryamin slid past them, delivering 2 slashes to the back of each. Those onlookers observed in awe, exclaiming, "Hey, do you see that? Who is that guy? Is he some kind of elite soldier? And his nickname sounds so cool." And thanks to his performance, they gradually regained their confidence. After all, these goblins are usually the weakest type in the game, right? The group of young men even murmured among themselves, "We might be able to kill it, though maybe not as easily as Hackcore. If we fight seriously, it probably won't be too hard." However, the speed of those goblins was not to be taken lightly as they leaped straight at the player. With a sly smile on his face, his hand already struck that young man. The man beside him turned pale and groaned. They had just been so boastful, yet now they'd lost all courage and dashed off to save me somewhere else. Behind Ryamin, chaos began to erupt. More were coming. The slaughter unfolded, but on the opposing side were goblins. In this situation, no one could mistake it for just a game anymore. The terrified woman watched as a goblin thrust its sword into the restrained man. At that moment, all she could think of was one thing. Just as he had predicted, she was gasping for breath and losing all rationality over 2 simple words: survival. Ryamin was so accustomed to reading players' moves, the survival instinct within them surged fiercely to dominate their minds, and soon they all fled in a half-alive, half-dead state. He swung his arm and hacked one down. He'd even used that method the very first time. His gaze remained fixed on that girl, as if reminiscing about himself. Only after the second time did he realize that running away in such an isolated place was simply not an option. She suddenly crashed into a yellow boundary. When she regained her composure, she realized there was something she couldn't get past. Nearby, another person trembled, brandishing a knife, especially for someone from modern times who had never actually had to take down a creature. He still hesitated, unable to finish off the creature even though it lay on the ground. Perhaps he'd find it very difficult to kill a goblin for survival in this game. The goblin glared at him with its fiery red eyes. It suddenly sat up straight and raised its weapon, causing him to shudder. He knew he must overcome that fear. The angelic woman stood watching that blood-soaked scene as if it were mere entertainment, exclaiming, "Oh my, the battle between humanity and goblins is simply fascinating." She already understood the capabilities of the players, even though they were as small as children. Without even the slightest resistance, she could have taken them down with her bare hands, let alone with a dagger. Her smile grew even more pronounced as her golden eyes swept over, but Ryamin fought the goblins with such ease that it made her wonder, what exactly is this humanity, anyway? She even tried opening his system interface to check on Hackcore's quest progress. Defeat goblins 70, 100, Hackcore, her. Though she was the administrator here, her authority was limited, which irritated her. This blasted system not only displayed quest progress but also concealed all player information. Still, in a good mood, the angel decided to continue her amusement anyway. Alright, I'll instruct these pathetic humans. It hurts my dignity, but it appears a few of them are rather special, so I'll stick around and enjoy it a bit longer. The goblin was struck by Ryumin's knife right in the center of its face. The system kept reporting, you defeated a goblin, plus 4% EXP, plus 10 gold. You have leveled up. Quest progress, defeat goblins 75, 100, only 25 more to complete the quest. He leaned to dodge a thrown knife from a low-level goblin. Beside him, 4 more goblins charged forward. With exquisite skill and effortless grace, his movements allowed Ryumin to dispatch all 5 with a single technique. He spun his knife with hands already stained with blue blood. That goblin, sensing danger, tried to retreat, but it couldn't avoid the fatal strike from Ryumin, who this time used both hands to drive his blade into its head. His voice was about to etch itself into the goblin's nightmares. Is there anyone left? The entire horde could only let out a feeble sound, too scared to charge any further. He sat down and wiped the blue blood off his face. Clearly, it was time to catch his breath. Thanks to his diligence, his stats had leveled up several times. The status window read: Name, Ryumin. Nickname, Hacker Trainee. Level, 4. Profession, none. Title, none. Strength, plus 3 intelligence, plus 3 agility, plus 3 luck, plus 3 stat points, 6. Skills, normal, none. Special, none. Passive, none. Supplementary, none. Mysteries unlock at levels 10, 20, 40, 60, and 99. In the blink of an eye, he had already climbed 4 levels. The hand clutching his small knife tapped the screen to level up his skills. Each level up granted 2 extra stat points. He put all of them into agility. With his vast experience, Ryumin was very cautious when upgrading himself. Besides increasing his dodge rate and agility, he boosted his attack speed and movement speed. In the early game, agility was the most crucial stat. He was pleased, flicking his knife so that the blue blood dripped away. Given his rapid progress, he was sure he'd already caught the angel's attention. Now, it was time to finish everything. Suddenly, that knife spun several times in midair before plunging straight into the head of the goblin at the back. Its piercing cry echoed as Ryumin grimaced. Who else is coming? The more he taunted, the further the monsters retreated. At that moment, he let out a sigh, not daring to relax. Then, the strongest player, him, darted out from the bushes. His soaring agility allowed him to move past them without leaving an opening. Now, let me get to you, he thought. The goblin, infuriated, turned around. Before they could attack, they were caught in a swirling strike from Ryumin that reduced them to splinters. The system announced, plus 4% EXP, plus 10 gold. You have leveled up. Goblin Hunt Quest, 100, round 1 completed. A halo appeared around Ryumin's body, marking him as the player. He calmly waited inside it, thinking, round 1 is over. After taking down these goblins, certainly caught the angel's attention. The system's congratulatory messages, bearing his name, spoke, congratulations on completing the first round quest in this area. Congratulations on completing the first round quest across all areas. Ryumin smiled contentedly. He had achieved first rank. The higher the completion rank, the better the rewards. Top 3 ranks receive the best prizes. Just as he had expected, the system presented him with a choice. Congratulations on completing the first round quest in this area. You will receive a region-specific optional weapon, and a small sword has been added to your inventory. And for completing the quest across all areas, you will receive a precious sword. It seemed his reward was the highest among everyone. Ryumin tapped the sword-shaped icon first to select the weapon from the regional rewards. The screen offered 3 types of weapons with 3 different names. You could choose one of the following. He retracted his hand in surprise. Although it wasn't anything grand, he was lucky to have obtained it so early. Then, the young man gently tapped on the screen to choose his weapon. The item updated instantly. Received, short sword. Weapon category, sword. Attack, 15, agility plus 1. Durability, 150, 150. Equip limit, rookie tier and above. Description, the best Rao Ram a rookie can use. He threw the small knife, once used against the goblins, to the ground. Now that he'd acquired better gear, he could discard that junk. With his hand still smeared in blue blood, he pressed the icon marked with a cross. Now he would temporarily keep the sword obtained through the special reward. While Ryumin was leisurely preparing himself, those outside were still straining in battle as shown in the status window. When I skimmed through my own information, there was one thing that made me worry until now, making me rethink everything. In my description, there was a line stating that the final time traveler had been noted, making me curious about the title I once earned, a title I'd never seen in any of my previous 99 regressions. He continued to extend his hand and, in a low voice, said that the stone shattered to activate the system's function. You have used a fragment of an adage at random. Congratulations, you have received the time reversal adage. Ryumin clenched his fist and continued. The adage you received will automatically be inscribed onto your body. The subsequent notification confirmed exactly what he had thought. The trace of this adage has manifested in the player's soul. Because of its special properties, it has already been inscribed 7 times. The result is obvious. If I can inscribe it once more, it means I can regress infinitely. However, this time he heard an additional piece of information. Based on the trace of the adage in your soul, you have been recorded as a time traveler with 100 journeys. Ryumin's face revealed his surprise upon hearing that he had just received the title, Final Time Traveler, a title in this game even more prestigious than an adage. The title, Final Time Traveler, unlocks under these conditions. Obtain 100 time reversal adages. Its effect is that, upon death, your soul remains at that location for 1 minute. If desired, you will be resurrected with full health and energy. This title can be used only once and will vanish after resurrection. It is far more powerful, and much rarer, than any adage. What troubled him was that it related to a skill he had received earlier. Moreover, resurrection is an exclusive skill for priests, and even that skill restores only 30% of maximum health. But that wasn't a worry at all, it only made him more excited, since this title allows one to resurrect with full health. Looks like I've just obtained an awesome title. Ryumin stroked his chin, his eyes lighting up with delight as he thought to himself, I've just got something amazing. Seeing the system interface appear before him, he mused, having this card in hand is a good thing. The Final Time Traveler title's stats can be set to public or private. When set to private, the title won't display under your ID, though its effects remain active. Ryumin squinted one eye and stretched his arms, thinking that perhaps the others had already completed their tasks, wondering what Eon Minute was up to. Eon Minute, holding a knife, was standing behind 2 people who were brawling. Here I am, he seemed to announce. Ryumin smiled, thinking it seemed that the guy had survived. Rays of dazzling golden light flowed down from the sky. Burial the angel appeared, curling her lips into a mocking smile that grew increasingly bored. Her light shone directly onto several people, and her voice echoed, pitiful beings, you will gradually be annihilated to match the remaining number of imps. I am truly sorry, it is my fault. Burial the angel clasped her hands together as she spread her wings wide, stirring everything back into motion. The blonde girl embraced her loved one, and tears streamed from the corner of her eyes, stirring deep emotion. She stared in shock at the young man, as if her very self was gradually vanishing. The others looked on, confused, as the lifeless bodies on the ground began to disintegrate. What's happening to the corpses? They asked in disbelief. They then turned their eyes toward Burial the angel, who was hovering in mid-air. A horde of monstrous creatures, with gaping maws drooling menacingly, charged forward. They were astonished, cursing in exasperation. Her eyes shone brightly as she looked down, a sinister smile curling her lips, and she drawled, I've given you another 50,000 lives. Surely you have more than enough to slaughter one another, right? Armed monsters charged in to kill. A young man plunged his blade into its stomach, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Another monster, wielding a knife, chased after that person. They grappled with each other fiercely. The system flashed, task 1021 out of 5143 completed. Youngmin looked at the monster before him and pulled the other person behind him. He tightened his grip around the monster's neck. The system's voice boomed, task 2120 out of 5143 completed. Ryumin sat down on the grass. A person, trapped within a beam of light, reached out as if to help, but to no avail. He could only watch helplessly as his teammate was attacked by the monsters. Then the system reappeared, task 3532 out of 5143 completed. Burial the angel chuckled in delight at the blood-soaked scene. Green cast a sidelong glance at her. Waves of light shone down on each person as the system's mechanical voice boomed, task 5143 out of 5143 completed. The horde of fiends immediately vanished, leaving the onlookers puzzled. The imps are gone. Where did they go? She glanced at the system board and remarked, only half the mission is done. Then it displayed, task 5143 out of 5143 completed. Job done in 43 hours. Burial the angel looked down at those below her and said coldly, the rest will have to die. After all, that's the law of the game. Everyone was stunned, their faces filled with helpless disbelief. Hold on, angel, I only need to kill one more. Please, won't you? Beams of light descended from the sky, sending many into a panic. Abel the angel clapped lightly and mockingly said, why do you all look so dejected? Shouldn't you be happy you're still alive? It's fine, you survived and can go back. She covered her mouth with her hand to hide a sneer, and with a tone full of contempt she said, congratulations on passing the first hurdle. I hope next time you'll try harder. Now, announce the rankings before you leave. The scoreboard displayed the results for round 1 across the entire region. Hakko, level 5, Notito, 10 minutes 21 seconds, 2. Lunguxian, level 5, Notito, 16 minutes 15 seconds. Tianma, level 5. Another scoreboard appeared. Ryumin stared intently at each board, Hakko standing first in both the entire region and the current area. The rewards included ranking rewards, rare low-level weapon tokens, and a special optional reward, a 1000 gold bonus for mission completion. If not yet granted, you will receive the mission completion reward in a few minutes. You have received 1000 gold for completing the mission. Congratulations! You can use this gold to purchase items in the store. The equipment purchasing feature will unlock upon reaching level 10. Countless people looked at him in astonishment. He smiled gently, thinking to himself that surely everyone already knew he was in first place. Burial the angel rested her chin on her hand and, delighted, said in a loud voice, I can't believe that first place in the entire region falls under my domain. Hakko, isn't that amazing? Answer me. He looked at her and then spoke, invitingly. Raising one hand, she smiled and asked, why are you so strong? Did you obtain a special adage or something? Outwardly, she laughed, but inside she was boiling with anger. Ryumin didn't answer directly. He said, just check my status window and you'll know, while Burial the angel stuttered, oh, then. She, confused, raised both hands, of course it's fine. An angel like me would never let such information show, I was just testing you. He forced a smile, thinking to himself, don't tease me any further. Suddenly, Ryumin called out, Angel. She, puzzled, looked up in response to his request, may I make a request? His face brimmed with confidence, leaving her confused as Burial the angel mumbled her request. Ryumin crossed his arms seriously and said, it seems the reward for the first place is rather underwhelming. Youngmin and everyone else looked at him in astonishment. Everyone was in disbelief as they stared at Ryumin. Burial the angel's face grew red with anger as she shouted, what did you just say? Standing within the beam of light, he arrogantly said, I hope you can grant something more decent. In a nearly menacing tone, she replied, say that again. Unfazed, Ryumin repeated, I don't like my reward, I want you to grant me something better. The space fell silent as all eyes turned to him. Burial the angel's eyes lit up, she flashed a demonic smile, how dare a mere mortal love Jack along with me, I took notice of him because he initially seemed so capable, but he's only killed a few imps and already looks down on me. She extended her hand, I'm going to make your head explode. Recalling that her power had already been used, she furiously withdrew her hand and clenched her fist. Damn it, I've already killed someone with my one-use supernatural ability. You arrogant human, did you really think I couldn't kill you? Angel Burial saw something, wait a minute. In a mysterious tone she said, right, I must bestow something upon him then. Looking at Ryumin standing below, Angel Burial asked, so you want a better reward? She replied as she lowered her foot onto the grass, I usually refuse such requests immediately, but... Step by step, Angel Burial moved closer to Ryumin. I've changed my mind, let's talk in private. The others wait a moment. The others murmured upon hearing her, is she really going to yield to him? I never expected someone to bargain with an angel, should I try too? I want a different reward, maybe it's because he ranked first. Murmurs filled the air. Youngmin cast a glance at Ryumin and said, chasing after him like that, how valuable must the reward be? I'm so jealous. He glared at him coldly. He was puzzled by that look. Without explaining, Ryumin stepped forward, leaving Youngmin bewildered. He followed after Angel Burial. She turned to him with an annoyed look and asked, why aren't you coming closer? You planning to keep staring at me? Walk beside me, yes? He immediately replied. Her eyes narrowed and her lips curled in hatred as she thought, these stupid humans only obey orders. They might not be well behaved, but they're unbearably greedy. Angel Burial turned and continued walking. And why should I swap the system's reward for him? Even if he manages it, he isn't the only exception. She shot Ryumin a sinister glance and then smiled slyly, thinking, if he accepts the reward, I'll show him just what greed will cost him. Spotting a boulder ahead, Angel Burial thought, I'll kill him as soon as he steps past that rock. The two continued walking. Countless thoughts whirled in her mind. Of course, trouble will surely arise if I kill a player out of personal vendetta without using my one-use ability. What if later the player complains of injustice and revolts? Then the authorities will hold me accountable for breaking the game's rules. Angel Burial's footsteps neared the boulder. I need a place where no one is around. A wicked smile crept across her face with not a trace of goodwill as she thought, you stupid bastard, if you keep your mouth shut, no one will know what happens. Angel Burial spun around, adopting an oddly cheerful tone as she looked at Ryumin. So you want a reward? Tell me, what do you desire? Before she could finish her sentence, his fist advanced toward her face, leaving her stunned. Ryumin's blow struck mercilessly, hitting Angel Burial square in the face. Her face swelled before she could even recover. Angel Burial's eyes widened in astonishment. She collapsed to the ground, her heart filled with seething rage. A stream of yellowish liquid trickled down her face. She raised her hand to inspect it in utter disbelief. What is this? That wretched human just hit me. She suddenly sprang to her feet, her face contorted in a hideous grimace as she glared at Ryumin, that damned human. He suddenly vanished without a trace. Angel Burial was dumbfounded. She hadn't noticed he had already appeared behind her. He knew all along. Ryumin seized her wings. In panic, Angel Burial glanced back. That hand grabbed her by the neck. Terrified, she screamed, wait, what do you intend to do? Stop, stop. His movements were decisive, and Angel Burial's piercing cry resounded through the forest. She collapsed onto the ground, eyes vacant and mouth agape. With a trace of emotion, Ryumin pried one of Angel Burial's wings aside. He coldly looked at her and said, don't you dare get all wet, all right. Grabbing the other wing, Ryumin caused her to scream in pain. As the wing snapped off and yellowish liquid flowed, he remarked indifferently, now you can't run away. Angel Burial gritted her teeth and glared at him. How is it? Does it hurt? She snapped. It hurts, doesn't it? A smile appeared on his lips as he casually said, I bet if I waited another 5 minutes, you'd be the one asking this obvious question, along with that contemptible laugh of yours. Angel Burial abruptly sat up, looked at him, and shouted, you crazy, what the hell are you saying, you human? Ryumin raised the two wings. From one, a hidden knife emerged. In a cold tone he asked, you planning to use the knife concealed in your wing to kill me or what? Realizing he had guessed correctly, he nonchalantly discarded the wings. Burial, in pain, touched her shoulder and said, what do you mean by kill? She retorted stiffly, I never intended to do that. Ryumin narrowed his bloodshot eyes and in a cold tone stated, lying won't help. Just by looking at your face, I know everything. Her face gradually turned to one of fear and stammering, how can a mere human know my name? He drew the knife from the system, his tone turning icy, even if you know, it doesn't matter. Angel Burial, trembling, stepped back, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly pull out a weapon? Ryumin inspected the knife and then asked again, still not understanding why. She merely pointed her finger at his face and threatened, do you want your head to explode into madness? With just a snap of my finger, you will. He gripped her as if seizing her completely and said, what are you doing? You don't even have the ability to kill anyone. Angel Burial pursed her lips and fell silent. She shouted, you think you can escape punishment? My companions won't sit idly by. Ryumin scoffed, my companions? What companions? Angels are nothing but a bunch of selfish bastards. They don't care whether you live or die. She, in disbelief, stuttered incoherently. He advanced closer, raised the knife, and said, enough, let me see you off on your way. Angel Burial stood and quickly stepped back, waving her hand. Wait a minute, you won't gain anything from this, he replied. Oh, you will, but regardless, you have no idea. She threatened, if you kill me, you'll regret it, you'll never be able to go back. Ryumin, as if knowing everything, said nonchalantly, this system will automatically return me once all is settled. She was taken aback and helpless. How do you even know about all this? Angel Burial made a request. All right then, I'll give you any information you want if you give me a chance. He flatly refused. No need. Ryu-min continued, if I need information, I'll torture you until you reveal everything I want, and regarding our species in this game, the fact is, you're just a pawn acting as a guide. Her eyes widened in astonishment. What the? Angel Burial raised her hand, startled. Since when? Ryu-min swiftly lunged and impaled her. Her piercing scream echoed throughout the forest. He looked at Angel Burial, now lifeless, lying beneath the ground. She was completely gone. The system's mechanical voice rang out. You have defeated an angel. It has been confirmed that you are the first player to defeat an angel. You have been awarded the title of First Angel Slayer. Once again, the system echoed. You have been awarded angel blood and, for your first angel kill, a glass vial and a gem. They appeared in Ryu-min's hand. Indeed, this time he was the first. The system then announced, you have also been awarded a dismemberment inscription for your first angel kill. The item in his hand burst into a golden light, surrounding him as the mechanical voice declared, the inscription has been automatically imprinted onto the player's body. System display panel. The current rewards for the first player to kill an angel are, the title of First Angel Slayer, the condition to be the first to kill an angel, and an effect that doubles all stats when fighting divine creatures. The first time I encountered this reward was when I avenged an angel on my 13th attempt, perhaps because this reward is limited to one player only. The dismemberment inscription increases all stats by 1% with each kill, up to 100%, maintained until the end of the related game round. Each reward can be exchanged for a unique item. Ryu-min smiled as he looked at the system display panel, thinking, if the angels discover that I've obtained an inscription, they'll be utterly shocked. His eyes glowed red with fury. He held up the glass vial in his hand, his mind racing with calculations about the main reason he killed an angel. Its effect, as shown on the system, is Angel Blood, a unique, high-grade consumable item that can change your vocation to Death God, usable from level 10 and above. Explanation: this reward for the first player to kill an angel grants the exclusive right to change one's vocation into that of the archenemy of angels, the Death God. Badges appear starting at level 10. All players can have a vocation. There are a total of 30 different vocations, and changing your vocation is very simple. The blue shield lying beneath the ground emits a stream of spiritual energy. You must obtain an item to change your current vocation, usually acquired through hunting or by meeting a simple condition. The glass vial shines together with a red vocation icon above it. However, there is an exception when switching to a special vocation, one that is only available under certain unique conditions. The red vocation stands above all others, and naturally those with this special vocation are on an entirely different level compared to normal vocations, with additional stat bonuses, an upgraded inscription, enhanced skills, and so on, nearly perfect. Ryu-min opened his system inventory, thinking, I haven't even finished the first round and I'm already heading back. He then thought, I'll use the reward earned from ranking first in every area. The system displayed the available rewards. Select one of the rewards below by tapping on it. Options include a triple experience effect for round 2, 2000 gold, and information about round 2. Ryu-min set his goal and thought, the important thing now is to reach level 10 quickly and change my vocation. He reached out and selected a reward. The system immediately announced, you have chosen the triple experience effect for round 2, it is now active. Glancing over at where Angel Burial lay, Ryu-min murmured, this is my last chance. I have no choice but to get stronger at any cost. He advanced toward her. The announcement board displayed, Round 1 has ended, all areas, survivors 90,051, current area, S45 4,645 survivors, total survivors, 5,143 souls will be transferred to bodies in the current dimension. The 1st of February 2023, Round 2 is starting. We will meet you in the next round. Congratulations on surviving. Young-min shouted in anger. He looked at the tall buildings in front of him and suddenly stopped. Was that the New Year's bell? Young-min frowned in confusion, wondering what was happening. He wondered, has everyone collapsed like me? People just starting to wake up, murmurs had sounded earlier. Did I just faint? I just had a surreal dream. My head hurts so much it feels like it might split open. He was filled with confusion. His recent dream was incredibly strange. Young-min pulled out his phone, a spark of doubt rising inside him. 5:20, does time here flow just like in my dream? One by one, people in the city began to wake up, groaning, oh my arms and legs are all wet. He looked at the brown-haired guy and asked, are you guys awake yet? The brown-haired guy then inquired, did Young-min just faint? Young-min replied, yeah, it's not just you, everyone here is like that. The brown-haired guy, surprised, said, Did we all just fall asleep for a bit? The bald guy, confused, said. What's going on? I was just about to say I had the strangest dream ever. The brown-haired guy then added, yeah, I did too. Youngmin, did you dream as well? He replied, yes, but... Youngmin looked around at everyone and said, I never imagined that each of us, with our throbbing heads, would wonder, have we returned from that hell? I'm still alive, am I really? Yet he was sure that some demon had struck his head. In a low tone he said, it was just a dream. Everyone, perplexed, spoke up, so all of that really happened, all those demons, and even a second round. Then the brown-haired guy suddenly asked, so, will we be transported back there again next month? The teasing guy got angry, what the hell? Looking at the person opposite who hadn't yet woken up, Youngmin wondered, why isn't this guy waking up? The bald guy, also confused, said, I wonder that too. The brown-haired guy shouted, hey, Kim Tesic, wake up. That guy reached out and touched the one lying silently. Hey, wake up, look here. The person who had been lying down suddenly flipped over, his face turning completely pale. The brown-haired guy, alarmed, reached up to his nose, exclaiming, no way. That guy's hand began trembling even more. The brown-haired guy panicked, damn it, he's not breathing anymore, I can't even feel his pulse. Young-minute, shocked, murmured, Tennis is dead, what? The brown-haired guy's face went pale, not dead, he just couldn't survive in this game. The bald guy also turned pale, of course. He looked at the people still lying motionless, wondering if everyone who hadn't woken up here. Youngmin surveyed the chaotic scene before him and wondered, are they nothing more than corpses now? The bald guy forced himself to stand and incredulously stated, this is absurd, only half of us survived, is the next round going to be like this too? Youngmin's face grew dark, his hands trembling as he thought, I must be losing it. After witnessing a series of events, Youngmin began to feel mad. He thought, does this mean that even if we are all born at the starting line, everyone must live equally? His eyes, wild with madness, broke into a blissful smile. Now there's no reason to complain about how unfair life is. Then he turned to his comrades, trying to reassure them, calm down, you bastards, now we just need to survive, why twist yourselves up over nothing? Two of his comrades, so frightened that their bones seemed shattered, couldn't even process his words. One of them sat on the ground, holding his head and trembling uncontrollably, lamenting how unfair it was to die without even a chance to try. He nonchalantly added, not just us, everyone else has been caught up in this too, what's there to complain about? Those two, shocked by his words, silently cursed him, damn crazy bastard. The bald guy sighed and frowned, damn it, you've spent your whole life like a thug, so of course you won't feel any loss even if you die here. Youngmin didn't bother with his words, he glanced around and said, I'm different, I still have plenty to do. Seeing this, someone asked, what are you looking for? He immediately replied, I don't see that dead dog anywhere. Hearing that, the bald guy asked, who's the errand boy working for you? Youngmin silently wondered, why can't I see him? That damn bastard, I'm pretty sure I saw him in that direction before I fainted. Could it be that he couldn't pass the first round and died pitifully? Thinking so, he smirked broadly, I suppose so, how could someone as weak as him possibly survive? Suddenly, his attention was drawn by something. He looked over at a man clad in armor. Where had that come from? He wondered, what happened to that guy, and where did he get all that armor and gear? Then he contemplated an impossible possibility. He hesitated, tense for a moment. Then he summoned his status window in his mind. Immediately, a transparent system window displaying various status stats appeared before him. He was utterly taken aback as the status window materialized. One of his comrades wearing a fur-collared jacket said, no way, things like this just can't happen, and was equally stunned by the sudden appearance of the status window. Youngmin couldn't see his comrade's status window, so he asked skeptically, hey, why are you staring at nothing? The guy replied, aren't you doing the same? It probably only shows up for each individual. Soon, everyone present had their own status window, and they were all astonished, exclaiming, is this something that can actually be applied in real life? We can actually use stat points and items. At that moment, Young-minute picked up a stone from the ground. Without many words, he simply crushed the stone with force. He silently stared at the fine dust in his palm. Then a delighted smile spread across his face. This is awesome, isn't it? News reports were coming in about the events of this morning at dawn. An unbelievable incident had occurred. A female news anchor with short hair was seriously reporting the events at the square in front of the New Year's bell. On New Year's Eve, over 10,000 people suddenly lost consciousness. Now, I will take you to the scene of the incident, she announced. The footage then switched to the scene where Burial, the angel appeared. A woman of unknown identity, dressed in angelic attire, had appeared in front of the New Year's bell. She then spoke to the people below. The scene on screen suddenly became chaotic. Not long after, a mysterious explosion occurred. After a citizen pointed at the woman and said something, the person who had spoken was immediately killed. The female anchor continued, then the woman spread her arms toward the people. People on screen kept collapsing, causing over 10,000 individuals to suddenly lose consciousness. A different news report video was shown. According to police, most of the people who collapsed were between the ages of 15 and 29. The reporter stated seriously in the video, "We have confirmed that this phenomenon is not only happening in our country but on a global scale." Social media exploded with comments. People continuously posted, "What the hell? Reporters high or what? Why would you suddenly air such nonsense early in the morning?" Many didn't believe it, replying, "Is today April Fool's? Over 1.8 billion souls have been abducted. This is just unbelievable." The scale of this fake news had grown so enormous, some even criticized the reporters. Reporters are just too cooperative. Yet others agreed. The reporters probably had nothing better to do on New Year's than create this fake news. The video clearly showed Syria, and in the comments people were even fighting. Some said they didn't believe it, and others, while typing, collapsed laughing. Minik calmly scrolled through social media. "It's already started," he thought. He mused. And this is only the beginning. News reports continued about the incident that occurred at around 5:20 this morning. About half of those unconscious regained awareness, while the other half remained in a vegetative state at the scene. They were all diagnosed as clinically dead. Celebrity was found dead at the square. This is the first time that over 11% of the population has perished in a crisis, with reports of deaths continuously increasing. He remained utterly indifferent, thinking that the real issue lay elsewhere. Then he looked at the TV broadcasting the news to the survivors, now all being called players. The reason behind this incident was still under investigation by the authorities. His thoughts mingled with the anchor's voice. The abilities that players acquire have now been brought into the real world. He continued, "No player has truly high stats yet, so it hasn't had a major impact." His expression turned icy, but as players' levels rise, they will gradually become beings of immense power. A figure resembling a dark knight appeared, clad in imposing iron armor with surging, mighty energy. No matter how many modern weapons are used, or even if an entire army is sent, those players cannot be suppressed. Weapons are made by humans, who themselves cannot be controlled. They will be born. He lifted his foot and began to walk, but I don't intend to just watch the world sink into chaos. With his hat and coat pulled over his head, he exuded an air of mystery. If I leave things as they are, the world might perish before reaching the 20th round. There is only one solution. Then his eyes sharpened. I need to control all the players, he thought with a power that surpassed everything. As he pondered, he recalled his previous regressions. This time, I must use methods different from before. A system notification appeared before him. To enter the boss room, you need at least 5 players. His expression turned grim as he sank into the darkness. I already have a few potential candidates in mind, and I know how to recruit them. Then he dismissed that thought and continued walking. But now was not the time for rash action. There were more important things to do. At that moment, he had gone from the square to the front door of his house. He gently opened the door and slowly stepped inside. His eyes fixed on something. It turned out to be a cup of noodles left behind by someone, so that bastard even had dinner with instant noodles again. He slowly opened the door to his room. There he saw a young man, who looked strikingly like him but younger, soundly asleep. Seeing him sleep so peacefully, he couldn't help but smile gently. He can still sleep well, even though my brother hasn't come home yet. It turned out the young man was named Rio 1, his younger brother. This guy is my younger brother, and next year he will be a third-year high school student. He began to talk about his family. My family isn't anything special. On the wall hung a family photo of 4 people smiling happily. However, my parents had passed away in a traffic accident. Just like that, so many things changed overnight. Beneath the photo were images of 2 loving brothers playing together. One of the most notable changes was me becoming the sole guardian of one, his younger brother. The young man appeared with serious injuries all over his body. He slowly reached out and reapplied some adhesive bandages to his brother. His eyes grew complex and thoughtful as he looked at him for a long while. Suddenly, the whole room lit up, waking one from his deep sleep and making him blink several times. After turning on the light, he sat on the bed and said to his younger brother, "It's time to get up." When one saw his older brother, he immediately replied. His brother reminded him, "It's already morning," and after checking his phone, One responded, "It's only 6 a.m., man." Not willing to let his younger brother keep dozing off, he flipped the blanket off him to jolt him awake. While gathering the bedding, he said, "We don't have time to keep sleeping." Hearing this, his little brother asked suspiciously, "What's going on?" The older brother replied, "I'll explain later. Now, change your clothes and let's go." Still sleepy from being woken up so early, one yawned repeatedly and said, "Where are we going? Bro, if you plan to say we're off to watch the sunrise, I'd rather sleep in." At that moment, his older brother became serious and said, "Listen to your brother." Calmly, he said, "Now is not the time to relax or laze around." Clutching his clothes, he bluntly told his younger brother, "The world has plunged into chaos." Startled, one asked, "I thought you said we were going to watch the New Year's celebration. What's happening? Why aren't you answering my question?" His older brother replied, "Just come with me, I'll explain on the way." The two left the house and hurried down the street, their figures elongated in the light. One glanced at his older brother with a mix of tension and skepticism. He thought to himself, if his brother is this serious, something must be really wrong. Noticing his younger brother's gaze, his brother finally said, "One, you don't know what's happening to the world, do you?" Hearing that, one panicked and blurted out, "Why are you saying that? You're scaring me. Did something happen while I was asleep?" His brother calmly replied, "Just check the trending searches." Brimming with questions, one immediately grabbed his phone to look. As he scrolled, he couldn't believe his eyes and marveled, "What does this mean? Did an angel suddenly appear and kidnap people to another world?" His older brother gently clarified, "More precisely, their souls have been taken away." Hearing this, one asked in panic, "No way, that really happened?" His brother confirmed calmly, "Yes, that's right. I can only survive again after I hunt down 100 monsters known as goblins." Worried, he asked, "Is that really true? Are you hurt anywhere?" Minute reassured him in a calm tone, "Don't worry about me." With his face full of concern, he exclaimed, "How can you not be worried?" The scene shifts to a memory of when their parents passed away. At their parents' funeral, it was just him and his older brother, the only ones you really had. His face was streaked with tears as he looked up at his brother. "Of course, you understood." His figure was incredibly solitary yet exuded strength, enough to fill the void left by their parents. Just as now, his silhouette remains both dependable and lonely. That's why he must maintain an unwavering resolve. No matter how one thinks about it, one was deeply worried about his brother, but having a steadfast mindset and the ability to kill 100 monsters are two very different things. Sadly, even his brother had a vulnerable side. At that moment, Minute managed a smile tinged with helplessness and said, "I know what you're thinking." After a pause, he turned to his younger brother and carefully explained, "They have a system there called stats, just like in a game, so my physical skills aren't that important." Then he added, "So you don't need to worry." One, still hesitant, murmured, "If that's the case, but. He continued patiently, "If you see me in the future, you probably won't think like this anymore." One, confused, asked, "What do you mean? Why aren't you answering my question directly?" His brother just smiled and said, "If you want to know, just follow me." At that moment, one, eager to understand everything, became stubborn and declared, "I won't move until you tell me where we're going." Hearing this, his older brother stopped in his tracks. Perhaps out of deep concern for his brother, his eyes hardened as he said, "Then please, just tell me." He looked at the wound on one's palm. He fell silent in deep thought. Finally, he spoke up, "Bang Teju." One was taken aback upon hearing that. Calmly and slowly, he said to his brother, "We're going to Bang Teju's stronghold, the place of that thug who always bullies you." After saying that, he feigned ignorance and asked, "Is Bang Teju threatening you?" One was startled by his brother's question and stammered, What do you mean by?" After a pause, he continued, "Don't you know I already know everything?" When his brother asked, he nonchalantly replied, "Why would you think I didn't know?" Never expecting his older brother to know it all, one bit his lip and thought, "But I don't want you to see how conflicted I am. You've already been through so much." Seeing his younger brother's distress, Minute felt even heavier-hearted and said, "I'm sorry." Inside, he carried so much sorrow that he truly didn't know. That he only learned the truth a few hours after returning from the first round. When light streamed through the window in the small room shared by the two brothers, one, already awake, turned to his still sleeping older brother and said, "Brother, come outside with me for a minute." He seemed deeply haunted by that day, by the disappearance of his sibling. At that moment, a sudden phone call jerked him awake with a loud ring. With his eyes half closed, Minute answered, "Hello." On the other end, a voice said, "Hello, is this the number for Rio 1's guardians? The voice, sounding urgent, said, we need you at Hospital 20 immediately. After that one sentence, he quickly grabbed his jacket and rushed out to the hospital. The result of that dark day was that you were blinded after Bang Taeju beat you, leaving you with countless wounds as you sat, in agony, leaning against the wall, because I was so foolish and weak. He blamed himself and clenched his hand, thinking, I couldn't protect you. Overwhelmed with remorse, he repeatedly apologized in his heart, I'm sorry, brother, I'm so sorry. After that painful memory ended, he now stood before his younger brother, vowing that no one would ever bully you again, no one. The scene shifts to another place that looks desolate. A foot, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, kicked a man in the chest, making him cry out in pain. A blonde guy, apparently the boss around here, shouted, you guys want to die? Pointing at 3 men writhing in pain, he said, didn't I say each of you must bring 200,000 won? Not getting the answer he wanted, he shouted further, not answering, you dare ignore me. Cutting him off, with a fierce glare and without a hint of mercy, he stomped hard on one of his subordinates, making him stagger. The 3 men who had been standing aside finally remarked, our lackey, Bang Taeju, is truly ruthless with his own underlings. The one nicknamed, Mushroom Head, with a hint of fear and dejection, said, even the upperclassmen from other schools don't want to mess with him. The bald one then added, no matter what happens, I wouldn't dare oppose him anyway. After taking care of his subordinates, he began grumbling and cursing, damn it, I was planning to buy a car today, but these useless idiots are making me achieve nothing. His eyes flared as he asked the 3 men, do you know any place where you can make money? The mushroom head guy was caught off guard and hesitated, any place to make money. Taeju responded, yeah, think fast, guys, urging his underlings to come up with an answer under his pressure. Finally, the bald one came up with an idea. Though tense, he tried to appear calm as he smiled and said, there's a guy who runs errands for you, Taeju, the tall, short-haired one, why don't you call him? Upon hearing that, Taeju smirked sinisterly and said, Rio 1, right, I was planning to call him today. His eyes turned menacing as he continued, I'm planning to beat him up to celebrate the new year. The 2 underlings exchanged glances, and one remarked, if Taeju picks someone up like that, we can probably squeeze some cash out of him. Yeah, I heard that, came the reply. Suddenly, he spoke up, that guy actually doesn't have a home. Taeju's offhand remark left his underlings wondering why. He continued, disdainfully explaining, he can't produce any money, even if I kill him, his family doesn't have a thing. This comment left the 3 of them looking utterly dejected. Taeju then added, and that guy doesn't even have any relatives. As he spoke, he glanced at his cohorts, he lives with his older brother. Suddenly, Hender fell silent, leaving the bald one confused, what's up with that? Another Taeju looked at him skeptically, wondering what was going on. At that moment, 2 familiar figures appeared from outside. Recognizing who had arrived, Taeju smirked disdainfully, isn't that Rio 1, that enemy really gives me the creeps. With a malicious look, he slowly advanced, mentioning Cao Cao, and with biting words cursed, 1, you're not Cao Cao, you're just a dog. Then, he suddenly shouted, hey, Rio 1, and cursed, you damn dog. Overwhelmed with fear, 1 could only tremble and stutter a reply as his hand unconsciously clutched Min's jacket. Only then did he realize that this person's presence was anything but welcoming. Who is that guy? His face is so off-putting, he thought. Not one bit polite, the man rudely demanded, who the hell is that dog with you? Did you bring some errand runner along because you're lonely? Hearing this, 1 hesitated. Without waiting for his little brother to introduce him, the man directly smiled provocatively and said, I'm 1's brother. 1 then asked him back with a hint of skepticism. Even so, and without any fear of death, he pointed at 1 and threatened, didn't I tell you to keep your mouth shut, and now you're talking back to me? He cracked his knuckles and confidently declared, today, you're sure to die, along with your older brother. Then he glanced over at his underlings and signaled them. The bald underling, sleeves rolled up and exuding a gangster vibe, said, the sun rises in the west, now even a coward dares to stand against Taeju. Underling, lead the way, with an air of arrogance. He then asked, 1, are you any good at fighting? He raised his hand, waving it back and forth in a mocking gesture meant to belittle his height, and smirked at the coward who wanted to flee. Without further words, he swung a punch straight into his face. The other man took the full force of the punch and immediately rolled to the ground, startling the underling behind him into silence. Not learning a single lesson from those before him, he angrily lunged with another punch at the bastard. Even with such a fast punch, he was easily dodged. Immediately after, He landed another punch, knocking down the second guy. That punch from him sent his opponent flying far away. At that moment, the remaining guys charged in together. He then launched 2 lightning-fast punches at their faces, shouting, "You bastards, go die." Seeing his underlings being taken down so effortlessly, the Tiju man trembled with anger. He ground his teeth and bared a cruel smile, while inwardly cursing furiously. Arrogantly convinced he was right, and assuming he'd learned boxing from somewhere, he became overly confident in his punching skills. "But you really think you can take me on with just that little skill?" he sneered. Remaining calm, he called out to one's older brother, slipped his hand into his pocket, and slowly approached, saying, "So you think you're so good just because you know a little martial arts?" Being a head taller than him, he looked down sinisterly and added, "But haven't you learned that physical strength is crucial in boxing?" He didn't pay any attention to that remark and instead retorted, "Haven't you seen the news?" Frowning in confusion, he looked at him and said, "What news are you talking about, Taigu?" Yet deep down, he knew he hadn't kept up with the news, and that realization left him utterly frustrated. Provoked by this, he lost his temper entirely and swung a punch, shouting at the bastard. He, as always, casually dodged the punch. Again and again, even as the other man unleashed his full strength in attacks, he dodged them effortlessly, as if swatting away with a bare hand. That damn bastard. After a flurry of attacks left Tiju gasping for breath, he finally sensed that something was amiss, something just wasn't right. Why? He wondered. His face contorted into a crazed scowl as he muttered, "Why can't I beat them?" At that moment, he slowly gathered his strength into his fist and calmly said, "If you've seen the news." Then, in a flash, he charged forward, declaring, "You'll never dare to land a real hit on me when facing a fighter like me." Ryumin, his face grim and dark, raised his fist and delivered a powerful punch toward the Tiju gang. He was hit with a blow so painful that it left him completely immobilized. Seconds later he barely managed to react before you, Bang Tegi, in a rage, raised your fist and lunged at that bastard. But there was no one in front of him, not a single person in sight. "Where did you run off to? Where did you run off to?" He turned around in panic, unable to believe what was happening. Bang Taigu got hit with another punch to the face. He clutched his face in anger and shouted, How dare you hit me?" He froze, and a tooth fell out. Bang Tegi roared furiously, "I swear, I'll kill you." Using every bit of his strength, he punched toward Ryumin, dropped dead. He easily dodged the attack and counterattacked. Ryumin unleashed a rapid flurry of punches right into that bastard's face. He staggered, barely able to stand, and even those watching from afar broke into a cold sweat. His face swelled into a hideous lump, and the bastard kept aiming his blows at his face. Bang Taigu, panting, turned around and glared at Ryumin, "This bastard, if he lands even one hit on me." He charged forward with unwavering determination. Before the guy could finish his sentence, Ryumin raised his leg to block the clenched fist, as if saying, "Enough." Just as predicted, his head took another hit. This time it wasn't as gentle. He was thrown far away and smashed violently into the wall. Bang Tegi struggled to brace himself and sit up, while Ryumin stared at him grimly. Bang Tegi. He glared furiously, "Damn bastard." Ryumin recalled how, covered in wounds and bruises, he once hid in a dark room, and no matter how many times he was revived, he'd never forget that feeling. He slowly approached him, unwilling to relive that hell, while Bang Tegi struggled to stand, terrified. Don't come any closer." He gripped his own neck and stepped back, then stopped. Ryumin sat down in front of Bang Tegi, took his hand with a smile, and narrowed his eyes in a questioning look. He glared darkly and warned, "That's why you should never mess with my little brother." Bang Tiju stood there, stunned for a moment. Seconds later, he screamed in pain, clutching the hand that had been grabbed. Bang Tiju cried out miserably as Ryumin continued to grip his hand. He was terrified, but strangely, it didn't hurt too much. Bang Tegi's cries grew louder and more anguished with every moment, and his cronies, witnessing the scene, fled in terror. Ryuwan, standing at a distance, heard the screams and quickly turned away, too frightened to look. Ryumin glared threateningly and warned, "Bang Tegi, if you ever dare lay a hand on my little brother again, do you know what will happen?" Bang Tegi trembled and knelt. "I understand, I won't do it again." Then he shifted his expression back to a friendly smile, as if saying, "That's right, but..." Yet, in stark contrast to that angelic facade, Ryumin snapped off his remaining hand and declared, "I've given you a lesson to shake you out of your stupor. If you dare repeat this," he screamed as he pleaded, "No, please. In the abandoned warehouse, the sound of bones breaking echoed along with anguished screams. Raiwan followed behind, calling, "Hey, brother, wait up." He, the gentle and kind one, wondered, seeing my little brother act like that, "How could you do such a thing? Since when did you learn martial arts?" Raimin smiled brightly and said to his younger brother, "Didn't you notice, players can use their skills in real life too?" Raiwan, still puzzled, wondered just how that was possible. He then demonstrated his power. Golden light emanated from Raimin's hand like this. Boom! A small knife appeared, leaving Raiwan astonished. He excitedly shouted. A knife materialized out of thin air. Raimin proudly showed off to his little brother, "Pretty cool, isn't it? Soon, you'll be able to summon weapons just like this." Raiwan asked in wonder, "So when you moved so fast earlier, was it the same? That guy's punches didn't even come close." Raimin replied, "Exactly. My agility stat is 11. Raiwan, still a bit confused, asked, "Your stat, you mean like in the game?" "Right," confirmed Raimin. "An ordinary person might have a 3, and a gymnast could go up to 10 in agility." Raiwan had a million questions, wondering what would happen if he leveled up. Raimin just shrugged. "How would I know? You haven't reached that level yet." He silently thought to himself, "I guess I'll have to lie then." Raimin recalled the past, remembering when his little brother was locked away in a pitch-dark room. He had no intention of revealing that he was a pseudo-reincarnator. That time, during his 11th reincarnation, one was kidnapped by another player. He silently mused, "Even though I've taken my revenge, I can't bear for him to be humiliated because of me." Raimin turned and looked at Raiwan, determined that he must prepare to protect him in the battles to come. Suddenly, his little brother's stomach grumbled. A bit embarrassed, Raiwan listened as Raimin cheerfully said, "Shall we go eat? You must be hungry, right?" He immediately agreed, "Yes." The scene shifts to in front of a convenience store. Inside, the two brothers were planning to eat together. Raiwan called out, "Hey, where are you going? The instant noodles are right here." Raimin replied, "Hurry up, let's head over to the ATM. Okay, wait for me." He inserted his card into the machine. Raimin looked at the screen, which displayed the amount he had saved up until now. On the ATM screen, his account balance read 133,201. Raimin proudly showed the cash he withdrew to his little brother. Raiwan, astonished, asked, "You withdrew so much money?" Raimin explained, "I need to buy a few things." He pointed at the instant noodle and sausage stall. "From now on, we're eating these." Raiwan asked, "These things?" Glancing at the prices on the counter, he broke into a sweat. "Man, everything here costs at least 5,001. Raimin replied, "I don't care, if you want it, then so be it." Smiling, he turned to his little brother, "Are you really just going to have ramen?" Raiwan hesitated, "I don't really want to spend money, but just eating ramen all the time is expensive." "Brother," Raimin urged him, "it's fine, just choose quickly." Raiwan happily made his choice. "Then let's have this, beef dipped in chili, brother." His eyes lit up with excitement as he exclaimed, "I want that too, it looks so delicious." Doomin pointed and said, "Big brother, let's go to a restaurant sometime and have some Hanon beef." Byam felt it was too much and didn't want to waste money. "Why go overboard, brother? That's already more than enough for me." Raimin gently looked at his little brother and thought, "Just wait a few more days, I'll treat you to meat until you're fed up." Hot steam wafted from that box of meat. Raiwan scooped a spoonful of rice along with a piece of meat into his mouth. With sparkling eyes and a look of delight, he exclaimed, "This is amazing, it's so delicious." Beside him, Raimin happily watched his little brother eat up. "Really?" Raiwan looked at him, puzzled. "Brother, thank you so much, where are you off to now?" Raimin stood up, "Wait for me a moment." He left, and Raiwan watched him go. Suddenly, Raimin turned back, grabbed a black pen, and slammed it down on the table. Raiwan was stunned, staring at the pile of lottery tickets scattered on the table, exclaiming, "Wait, did you withdraw all your money just to gamble it away?" Raimin confidently replied, "Exactly." Raiwan, nearly feverish, asked, "Hold on, how many tickets did you buy?" Calmly, Raimin smiled as he looked at his 20 lottery tickets. Raiwan panicked, shouting, "What the heck? Why spend 100,000 won on lottery tickets? You know you're not going to get anything back." Raimin, with a mysterious air, simply said, "Just wait and see." Raiwan, sweating profusely, asked his brother, "What on earth are you doing?" He looked at the pile of lottery tickets in growing panic, and yet he kept choosing the same numbers over and over. "Raimin, why?" he asked. He confidently told his younger brother, I'm sure these are the winning numbers. Both of them went back home and turned on the phone to listen as the lottery draw for ticket no. 1049 began. We will start drawing the numbers today. Ryu-wan, his face flushed and sweating, muttered, "We're doomed. We've wasted 100,001. The program began the draw. Here come the numbers. The announcement boomed. He grew increasingly dejected, thinking that with that money they could have bought much better food. Ryu-min, however, didn't care, while the other one asked, "Could you stop biting your nails?" The sound of the lottery draw echoed continuously. The first lucky number was 3, and the second was 18. Ryu-wan paused. He was surprised to hear the program announce, "The third lucky number is 9, the fourth is 38, the fifth is..." Finally, the winning sequence appeared on the phone screen, matching the numbers on the lower part of the lottery ticket. We will now announce the numbers for lottery draw no. 1049 once more, 38, 9, 38, 21, with an extra number of 5. Ryu-wan, astonished, shouted, "This is insane, we've won the jackpot." He was deeply moved, his eyes sparkling as he looked at his older brother. "Yang Ma, you should issue your own coin," he teased. Ryu-wan couldn't believe it and asked again, "Surely this isn't a dream, right, brother?" Ryu-min chuckled teasingly, "You think it's a dream?" Ryu-wan shook his head, saying nothing further. Ryu-min cheerfully reassured him, "Don't worry, it's not a dream." Ryu-wan asked once more, "It's not a dream, is it?" Ryu-min firmly replied, "Certainly not." Ryu-wan grabbed the lottery ticket in his hand and cheered, "We've won the lottery." Rio Ninja signaled for silence in a soft voice, "Keep it down, the neighbors might hear," and Ryu-wan paused. He smiled as he looked at his younger brother. "You like it that much?" "Of course," Ryu-wan affirmed, "how could I not be happy?" Ryu-min nodded, "Of course, I remember the first time, I even screamed." In Ryu-min's memory, both brothers were astonished and beaming, exclaiming, "We've won the lottery, it's not a dream," but after it happened so many times, it had become routine. "We need to make money quickly after every regression," he thought. But the joy didn't last long. Over 900 million people had died, and the economy had plunged into recession, and with changing times and mounting hardships, even items exchanged among players that would hold future value had to be bought with cash. Ryu-wan looked at his brother's pile of tickets. "I never expected we'd win the lottery. I wonder how much this prize is worth." Ryu-min, resting his chin on his hand, seemed to know. He estimated that this lottery win was enough to shake the world. The scene shifts to a bright, clear day in front of Non-Hup Bank. Ryu-min slowly walked inside, no longer troubled after having won the lottery countless times. He approached the bank counter and called out to an employee, "I'm here to redeem my winning ticket." The employee smiled and congratulated him. "Congratulations, sir." Glancing at Ryu-min, the employee silently thought, "He won the lottery, and he looks just like a schoolboy." He then proceeded with his duty, asking, "Could you tell me where you bought your lottery ticket?" Ryu-min replied, "QS24, Ionhui branch." The employee gasped, "What?" He silently pondered, "QS24, Ionhui branch," recalling his colleagues saying, "Have you heard? There are 115 winning tickets this time." 115, that's a lot. His colleague even added, "That's insane, isn't it? But the craziest part is that hundreds of those tickets all come from one place." The employee marveled, "Don't tell me one person bought all those tickets." He remembered his colleague's advice, "Don't worry, if anyone says they bought tickets from the Ionhui branch, call the president immediately, it's a VIP client." Returning to reality, he seemed a bit distracted, and Ryu-min apologized, "Sorry." The employee, flustered, said, "I'm sorry, but could you wait a moment?" Ryu-min agreed. After a while, an older gentleman appeared, saying, "Thank you for waiting." He warmly greeted and extended his hand. "I am Won Jun-ho, the president of Non-Hup Bank." He shook hands with Ryu-min as well. Won Jun-ho said, "Congratulations. So, you're the lottery winner, congratulations." Ryu-min smiled and replied, "Thank you." He chuckled and said, "Why don't we move to a quieter place? Please, follow me." Won Jun-ho led him to the lottery sales department. The two of them stepped inside, and an employee greeted, "Welcome, sir." She looked up and asked, "Who is that beside the president? Is he your son?" Won Jun-ho gestured and introduced, "This is our VIP client coming to claim his prize. Please ensure he's well taken care of." The blonde ponytailed woman looked at Ryu-min in disbelief. "VIP, so you're the one who won 100 tickets?" Then she added, "Now, feel free to take a tour." Ryu-min smiled, "Of course, thank you, sir." She tried to steady herself, reminding herself to stay calm. With a smile, she said, "Sir, please take a seat here." Looking at him with concern, the blonde ponytailed woman asked, "Would you like something to drink? We have coffee, tea, and fruit juice." Ryu-min replied, "I just want to claim my prize quickly and head home. I'm fine, but more importantly, I want my prize." She then took her place and said, "Oh, really? First, I'd like to verify your winning ticket, sir." Ryu-min handed over a bundle of winning tickets. The blonde ponytailed woman stared in disbelief at the stack of tickets, thinking, "I can't believe he bought them all with the same number. Does he have some kind of foresight?" After completing her check, she looked up and said, "I've confirmed that they are all first prize winners." Ryu-min cut straight to the point. "So, how much will I receive?" She broke into a cold sweat. He listened without emotion as she stated, Yes, sir, the prize is approximately 22.5 billion won." Ryu-min sat calculating. After taxes he'd net about 15 billion won. Everything unfolded swiftly after he collected his prize. Once he received the money, he began executing his plan. The first task was to find a new place to live. After buying a house, he planned to invest a portion of his money in stocks, and that very evening he would open a trading account. Bitcoin is expected to rise by about 500% next month. If I invest in stocks after boosting my funds with Bitcoin and today's windfall, he thought. The two brothers moved into a new house. Ryu-min asked, "1. How do you like the new house? Do you like it?" Ryu-wan replied excitedly, "Of course, it's gorgeous. We've never seen a house so spacious and beautiful. I definitely have to take a picture." Ryu-min still felt it was a bit lacking. "I expected something more elegant and spacious," he remarked. "This is the best place we can move into right away, and the security is excellent." Then Ryu-wan turned and asked in confusion, "But why are you paying rent with that kind of money? We should just buy it." Ryu-min said, "That's shocking. You don't have much money left," leaving Ryu-wan stunned. Ryu-min proudly stated, "I've already invested over 1 billion won in Bitcoin." Ryo-wan was dumbfounded. "I barely managed to catch a glimpse of him, didn't I?" The two showed contrasting expressions. Ryu-wan's face went pale and stiff as he looked dazed, while Ryu-min remained composed and comforted him. "I know what you're thinking, but I'm not going to lose my mind over it." Ryu-min draped his arm around his younger brother and said confidently, "You can always make more money from the lottery. I've already dreamt up for more numbers." Hearing that, Ryu-wan's eyes lit up as he thought, "I had only heard rumors of people dreaming up winning numbers before." He clutched his older brother and shook him, reminding, "Remember it all, don't forget. Remember, right?" "No way." Ryu-min was shaken to the point his face went pale and he became dizzy. He felt a bit resentful, thinking, "There's no way I'd ever forget after doing this countless times," and Ryu-wan, somewhat agitated, kept apologizing, I'm sorry." Ryu-min turned toward the door and said, "Let's go out for dinner." Ryu-wan, puzzled, asked, "We going out to eat, sir?" Ryu-min smiled brightly at him, "You haven't said anything. We're moving today." The scene shifts. A fist pounded heavily against a wall, shattering bricks and debris. A man in a blue jacket, looking extremely angry, was venting his frustration by smashing the nearby wall. Young-min smirked mischievously, secretly thinking, "I knew it was right to boost all the stats for strength." He raised his fist and continued to strike even harder. Young-min continuously punches the wall with a delighted look. "I even have that neck power which can double my strength, and I was lucky enough to get it randomly." He burst into laughter as he looked at the dents, thinking, "I bet even that horned guy would be jealous if he saw that punch." Min's face darkened as he clenched his fist so tightly that his sinews turned blue and trembled. "I've checked enough, why not test it in a real fight?" Min pounded on the door while shouting crazily. He appeared very angry as he kept hearing no response. "That bastard isn't dead yet," he thought, and he didn't even bother picking up the phone. His face grew increasingly sour, and his eyes flashed with streaks of red. Just imagining that look and glare on his face, he seemed ready to explode as if holding a deep-seated grudge. "That arrogant bastard, do you really think I'll let you off?" he swore. "After you look at me like that, I'll kill you." The thoughts in his head only made him more furious, his punches growing faster with each motion. "Even though we're both players, a loser is still a loser. I have to teach you a new lesson." But no matter how much he ranted, the reply was an eerie silence. Clearly, that bastard was hiding inside. Why wouldn't he come out? Realizing this wasn't the way, Min immediately changed his approach. A devilish smile spread across his face as he pressed his ear against the door, as if eavesdropping. "Surely that bastard isn't home anymore. That's it, let's get out of here." He seemed to be waiting inside for even the slightest sound before acting. Try making a noise and see, I'll smash this door. Just then, he suddenly heard someone call, "Hey, student." Turning around, he saw an older man standing there. "Since when have you been here? What are you doing bothering someone else's door so early?" the man asked, his expression clearly irritated. Minute, always rude to his elders, retorted, "Why do you care? Are you the homeowner or something?" The man replied firmly, "That's right, I am the homeowner." This straightforward answer made Minute jump in surprise and stutter. Getting back to the main point, "What are you doing here? Meeting a friend?" The way he defined their relationship made him come off a bit arrogant. Immediately, ideas started forming in his mind. He wanted to use this chance to extract information about Ryumin from the man. "You must be a friend. Could you open the door for me? I've lost contact with my friend. If you could open the door, sir." Before he could finish, the man interrupted, "Oh my gosh." Then he slowly added, "It seems you've been abandoned by your friend." Trying to explain, the man said, "That room is now vacant. The student who lived there has moved somewhere else." Only then did Minute snap out of it and hurriedly ask, "What? Since when? Where did he go?" "Even you, sir, seem clueless. He just moved out today, and I don't even know where he went." Upon hearing this, his hand unconsciously clenched into a fist as a burning rage flared within him. That bastard ran off without saying a word. Looking outside, the entire building was completely shrouded from view. Ryuan couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. It was his first time here, and everything felt incredibly unfamiliar, right from the entrance with its revolving door. Seeing Ryumin being handed a room card by the receptionist surprised him even more. They could actually come and go as they pleased. "I'm even protected by strict identity checks. Your identity's been verified, and there are security guards too." His eyes were filled with delight as he admired the building. "This place is amazing." The elevator opened very quickly. Ryumin gestured for him to follow. "Let's go." Upon entering the apartment he rented, Ryuan felt even more overwhelmed. "How huge is this place?" Ryumin, however, replied calmly, "About 330 square meters." The number made him jump. 330. "That's really spacious for just the two of us, isn't it a bit too big?" Ryumin simply thought, "We've got plenty of money, at least it should be this grand." "Then how much is the contract in total?" "Let me think. The deposit is 500 million won and the monthly rent is 22 million won." The more he listened, the more dizzy Ryuan became. 22 million won in rent. Just a few days ago, I was fretting over wasting 5,000 won at a convenience store. He couldn't hold back and blurted, "Guys, this place is too expensive. Shouldn't we move to a cheaper house? Wouldn't that be better?" He didn't realize that for Ryumin, expense wasn't the issue. At the very least, you've got to spend this kind of money. The more expensive it is, the higher the security. The reason he had to rent a highly secure apartment was that on the first day of every month, all the players fall into a deep sleep, their most vulnerable moment against disasters like fires or earthquakes, and, with threats lurking right next to the assassins hired by other players, that's why players must relocate to the safest possible place in another world. Ryumin understood this more than anyone else. No matter how skilled you are in that other world, everything ends if you die in the real one. But still, he respected Ryuan's opinion enough to ask, "1. You don't dislike this house, right?" "Of course not, it's beautiful, but why do you ask?" He replied, "It's nothing, luckily, I like it." For some reason, upon hearing that, Ryuan's expression immediately darkened. Suddenly, he said some polite words, "I'm sorry. I feel guilty for not being able to help you. 1. You'll end up getting dragged into another world to fight, while I just sit here enjoying everything as if nothing's wrong. I'm so useless, I'm sorry." He added, "You think too much. You deserve to be beaten for that." Ryumin smiled, encouraging him, "Shake off that feeling. Don't you think you'll win the next round?" "Yeah, then." To lighten the mood, he suggested, "Let's not dwell on this. How about we go grab something to eat? I heard the Korean restaurant on the second floor is fantastic." "Okay." At that moment, his phone suddenly rang. Someone was calling. Ryumin immediately realized from the tone that the caller knew he had moved out. "Forget about him. I'm not planning on meeting him in real life anymore." Though he said that, he wasn't entirely sure. Who knows, he might meet him in another world. Time passed quickly. One day after moving, Ryumin, still looking sleepy, slowly stepped into the living room. Before long, he saw Ryuan, neatly dressed, standing there. Curious, he asked, "1. Where are you going?" Hearing his voice, Ryuan looked up and said, "I'm up, huh?" Then, with a smile, he replied, Yes, I've ordered some rice cakes, so I'm going to get them. Still a bit dazed from just waking up, he mumbled, rice cakes. A few seconds later, he suddenly realized, rice cakes, it seems something like this never happened before. Of course, regressing to the past doesn't guarantee that things will remain the same, but isn't this the first time you've gone out to buy rice cakes? This made him wonder, why did you buy rice cakes? Raiwan cheerfully explained, since we just moved into the house, we have to bring them over as a gift to the neighbors, isn't that proper etiquette? That idea made Raimin sum up with praise, you really are a good neighbor, nice work, little brother, right? He took the initiative to greet Raimin and said, I'll go ahead, you go check on the neighbors. Then, he suddenly suggested, why don't we go together to greet them? I've been waiting here after changing. The doorbell was gently pressed, alerting the homeowner that someone was at the door. As the bell rang, a voice immediately called out from inside, someone's here. Hello, we're the Raimin and Raiwan household. We've just moved in next door and came to say hello, Raiwan said with a friendly smile. The landlady, upon hearing this, politely replied, hello. She remarked, you two look so much alike. He carefully handed over the welcome gift to the landlady and tactfully added, we brought you some rice cakes, warm ones taste the best. Their friendly demeanor made her feel very comfortable and happy. Oh my, thank you both, I'm sure they'll be delicious. Thank you, and see you again later. Then, the two continued on to the other rooms. Today, we've just moved into room 4302. A smile remained constantly on their faces. Here are some rice cakes. In a modest tone, they said, please, help us out. The atmosphere among strangers isn't distant at all. In fact, it's incredibly warm. Enjoy your meal, and be sure to say thank you, dear. Thank you, sir. Before long, the two of them had already ascended to the top floor. There's only one more unit left. Let's finish up. Don't get too tired. Just greet them, then head home to rest. As Raimin walked, he explained to An-1, did you know this floor is a penthouse? Hearing that, Raiwan grew even more astonished. They bought both the 44th and 45th floors, so they must be extremely wealthy, right? Raimin simply guessed, I'm not sure if you know, but it's probably owned by someone rich or a celebrity. You rang the bell already, but after waiting a long time, no one answered, or maybe they don't have an intercom. Raimin tried pressing the bell once more, but nothing changed. It seems like no one's home, huh? The moment you turned to the right, your gaze froze in astonishment. Noticing that, Rio-1 grew curious too. Raiwan quickly realized that the beautiful girl before him was actress Seo-an. Meeting her here was truly an unexpected honor. While Raimin still didn't know who she was, the nearby Raiwan kept exclaiming, she's so beautiful, like an angel. Suddenly, a large arm blocked the space between them. Seo-an's assistant stepped forward with a very serious look and asked, who are you all, you fans? His unfriendly tone caught you off guard, but you quickly explained, we're the residents living on the lower floor. Seeing him so bewildered, Raiwan then handed over a plate of rice cakes to the resident. Now Seo-an's assistant understood their intent. I thought you were someone else, Raiwan said with a friendly smile. Would you like to try some rice cakes? His reply was a chilly refusal. No, thanks. Besides, she doesn't really eat that kind of stuff. After saying that, he immediately went to open the door. He called out, Ari, come in, you, come inside too. Yet she seemed rather attached to the plate of rice cakes in her hand. Her eyes just wouldn't let go of it. Only after the two had gone inside did Raimin speak up in irritation. Who is that guy to be so rude? Anyway, don't pay any attention to that bastard. Of course, that's just how he is since you're busy focusing on someone else. It doesn't matter. The important thing is. A few seconds later, with a beaming look, someone turned to you and said, did you see, she's really beautiful. Raimin's face remained completely expressionless, clearly puzzled by your words. It really dampened Raiwan's spirits. What do you mean, sir? I just saw her myself, you replied. But he patiently explained again, she's Seo-an. Seo-an, who would have thought you'd even ask, who is Seo-an? The newspapers are currently flooded with negative news about the entertainment world. Actor Gong Ji-suk's situation, news that has left fans in tears, along with Gong Seo-jin, Sim Wei-an, etc. The tragic deaths of major actors have been a huge blow to the film industry. Even Cha-il has passed away for good. Surveys show that only 58% of the stars have survived because actor Kwang Min-ho is suffering from panic disorder and anxiety disorder, so the filming of urban crime has been halted. Seo-an, reading these lines, couldn't help but let out a sigh. Her expression grew increasingly worried as she wondered, How on earth is the world operating like this? Suddenly, a message came through from Hong Sina. Have you heard the news yet? He texted to inform her, Gong Seo Jin is dead. The two then chatted about it. Tomorrow, are you going to pay your respects? You have to. He took such good care of us. Let's go together, shall we? The more she scrolled through her phone, the heavier her heart became. She couldn't believe that someone even more successful than herself had died in the very first round. Thinking of that, Arian felt extremely fortunate. If she hadn't landed a good sponsorship, her name would have been splashed across the news. Everything in her life had moved so fast and been so unexpected. I'd grown so much, I even thought there'd be an article written about me, she mused in disbelief. Frankly, if it weren't for the company's sponsorship, she wouldn't have come this far. Even this penthouse was purchased by the company for her. Arian had been so absorbed in these thoughts that she hadn't noticed when her assistant had arrived. What are you thinking about, Arian? He suddenly asked, startling her. No, it's nothing, she stammered. Seeing her expression, he knew exactly what was on her mind and tried to comfort her. Don't worry, Arian, I told you, it's okay, just tell me everything, I'm all ears. Arian sighed and continued, I'm just wondering why the world has turned out this way. How am I supposed to survive the next round? That's what I'm thinking. But don't you still have him? Don't worry about the next round, I'm here, so why are you concerned? Seo An's assistant, sensing her worry, said, just trust me and get some rest. By then, that beautiful smile had returned to her face. Of course, who else can I trust? She replied. Recalling when the company first assigned him as her assistant and bodyguard, he mused, I was so cautious back then, I felt they only wanted someone to keep an eye on her. But his thoughts completely changed after they fought together in the game. Without him, she'd have been dead in the first round. Arian's assistant kept repeating, I will protect you at all costs, so don't give up. That reassured her immensely. Thank you so much. Leaving aside the gloomy atmosphere, she changed the subject. By the way, they brought me rice cakes earlier. Guess they just moved in. They look pretty good. That guy always has such a cold demeanor. If you eat that, you'll gain weight. Arian replied in a friendly tone, I feel they really went through a lot just to greet us. They must be quite down. Her country bumpkin assistant reminded her, they only want to take advantage of you. If you just agree, they'll keep bothering you forever. Even so, she still thought they didn't seem like bad people. Recalling the way those two carried themselves earlier, she guessed, our neighbors must be over 15 years old. Surely they've killed 100 goblins to survive, right? I suppose so. If that's true, it's fascinating. People who've been through such peril can act as if nothing happened. Arian's assistant, ever the realist, added bluntly, do you think killing 100 goblins with them is that hard? Only a few idiots would lose. Arian understood why he said it so calmly. It was because his skills in the other world were exceptionally outstanding. Nevertheless, mentioning the word outstanding made Arian think of Ryumin. You're not as good as him. Damn it, he almost got me to the point where I even felt sorry for the goblins. Curiosity welled up inside her. Maybe in real life he has another job too. I wonder what he does. I might survive round 2 if I team up with someone skilled. Then she turned back, worrying about her own fate. Last time I survived by luck. I wonder if I can make it through the next round. The sound of a vacuum cleaner echoed throughout the house, shattering its quiet atmosphere. It was January 31st at 11 a.m. Rio 1 was tidying up when he heard the door open and quickly turned around. Immediately, he saw Rio 1 entering from outside. You're back already? He asked. Seeing him, he impatiently asked, did you earn any money this time? Ryumin replied cautiously, this time, not much, probably around 15 billion won. Last time, it was 17 billion. Even so, you complain that it's too little. You kidding? The bank didn't say anything. This is the 4th time you've won. As for that. Recalling the moment at the bank when you left Jun-ho astonished, he exclaimed, you're coming back again, huh, lucky guy. Curiously, he asked, what's your secret? You didn't bother hiding anything and replied, I told you last time, I even got a fortune-telling report. That answer made him both envious and impressed. I wish I could get a fortune-telling report too. Don't say that, sir, even Rio 1 himself still doesn't understand why you're like this. Anyway, I just want to ask, so this time, are you planning to invest all your money in Bitcoin? It must be so, it's already risen to 150 billion won. With such a large sum, you're only worried, sir, shouldn't we withdraw it by now? I'm afraid we might lose it all. But Ryumin felt that it wasn't the right time yet. This is all within my calculations anyway, so don't worry, Rio 1, I'll handle everything. let's go grab something to eat. The two of them quickly went to a nearby restaurant, and judging by his satisfied expression, he knew that the food there must be delicious. After eating, the brothers even went shopping a bit more. The life of the rich really is a delight. They waited until nightfall, because whatever happens will occur at 11:55 p.m. on Tuesday, January 31st. Ryuan tightly grasped Ryo Min's hand and softly called him. His eyes filled with deep concern as he said, "When you step into the game again, you must survive and come back." In contrast to his worry, Ryo Min appeared extremely confident as he replied, "Don't worry, I've seen you beat Bang Tiju, haven't I? That's right, but..." Ryo Min gently stroked his head and said, "Don't worry, just go to sleep." After saying that, he himself drifted off to sleep, adding, "When you open your eyes, I'll wake up with you." As soon as he dozed off, he was immediately transported to another realm. Upon arriving, he saw that quite a few players were already there. Looking around, everyone seemed extremely surprised. "Have we returned already? So suddenly? Where are we? This place isn't like the one from round 1. Ryo Min's presence stirred up a commotion. They all recognized him as the top player from the previous HCQ round. He could sense many eyes fixed on him. Judging by how most hesitated to approach, they had realized he was the one who annihilated that horde of demons, right? The number 1, huh? And among the crowd was even eyeing Minute, eagerly searching for him. It seemed everyone had gathered. When would he appear? The moment he entered the game, Ryo Min's eyes shifted. His once jade-green gaze had turned into a cold, piercing red. At that moment, an angel descended from above and announced, "Has everyone arrived here?" The players' faces immediately fell into frowns as they noticed another angel. "Right, is something wrong?" The new angel gently explained that the angel in charge of round 1 had met with an accident and would no longer appear. Smiling at them, he added, "Don't panic, humans." In the next moment, that holy smile vanished, replaced by a series of eerie expressions. "I will now thoroughly instruct you all," he declared. "A sufficient greeting for now. From this moment, the game officially begins. Since you're all here, I will now announce the mission for round 2. A series of numbers suddenly appeared on the board right before everyone's eyes. Suddenly, lines of text appeared, announcing, "Round 2, main mission, choose the regional representative. In 3 hours, the total number of participants is 905,14645. The number of people who have completed the region is 905,14600. Currently, there are 45 regions AFK with 5 points, and 5,143 out of 5,143 have completed the region." Voices suddenly rang out, "Choose the regional representative." What? Oh my, I thought they'd require me to kill a few more monsters. Wait, look at the completed section. Does that mean everyone can survive this time? Noticing everyone's confusion, the angel immediately explained, "I see you're all perplexed. Let me clarify." Pointing upward, the angel softly explained, "You see, this time the gate has nothing to do with combat, you just need to select a representative." Now, before everyone was a magical circle, and the angel holding a sword added, "The regional representative can use their authority to command others. If they order someone to leave, that person must leave. If they order someone to die, that person will perish." After hearing the angel's explanation, everyone seemed both contemplative and worried. Isn't this power amazing? The angel reappeared and continued, "After 3 seconds, you will all receive your ballots. Simply write the name of the person you wish to elect as your regional representative on your ballot." Suddenly, a voice exclaimed, "That's it, there's no other rule." The angel replied, "That's right, just vote and you'll have completed your mission. Then you can go home, consider it a break." One excited person shouted, "Just vote and you're done, you're set to live. I don't have to fight anymore. Compared to the last round, this is a piece of cake, isn't it?" The angel immediately declared, "In the next 3 seconds, discuss among yourselves who will become the regional representative. The remaining discussion time is 2 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. After the angel's words, everyone grew excited. "Really, just by doing that we'll survive. It's as easy as pie, and if you become the regional representative, you even get the power to command." Young Min gritted his teeth and shouted, "Damn it, after all that effort, get ready to fight." That guy immediately blocked Ion Minute, and Ion Minute walked away. "Surviving by voting isn't so bad. I poured all my points into strength without a chance to show it off. I'm really pissed about that." Ryo Min then mused. He's focused all his points on strength, so this time, does the Oath of Strength also activate? He turned away, thinking how even Ion Min's oath and this situation were unfolding exactly as in his own memories. While everyone was debating, Ryumin paused his thoughts. Sure, they'd be arguing for 3 hours over who to choose, but that wasn't important. Since there was a main mission, there would also be a side mission. He held his long sword and contemplated the side mission and the hidden mission of round 2, leveling up to obtain a profession. Ryumin gripped his sword tightly to do just that. He told himself, with goblins closing in, I need to reach level 10 as quickly as possible. A goblin appeared before him, and Ryumin lured it over. In an instant, he leapt up and delivered swift slashes at the goblin. After defeating the goblin, the system displayed a message. You have defeated the hobgoblin, current count, 1 out of 100, buff level 3 applied, experience plus 9%, gold plus 15, all stats increased by 1% due to the effect of the Oath of the Servant. The goblin was dead. He continued pondering his path in the game. Venturing deep into the forest to hunt was the right decision, and besides, still firmly gripping his sword, he decided to press on. Wherever one goblin appeared, there was sure to be an entire pack. More goblins charged forward, their eyes gleaming with bloodlust. In that moment, Ryumin smirked. As the goblins approached, he stood ready to battle them. One after another, as goblins appeared, Ryumin swung his sword, slashing each one. After the goblins were defeated by Ryumin, the system displayed. You have defeated the hobgoblin, current count, 50 out of 100. Subsequent notifications appeared, all stats increased by 50% due to the effect of the Oath of the Servant, you have leveled up. The system then announced that the remaining discussion time was 2 hours 29 minutes and 24 seconds, has it only been 30 minutes, the status window seemed to say. Suddenly, a notification board appeared before Ryumin, the status window displayed. Name, Ryumin nickname, HC core rank, novice level, 9 profession, none title, time traveler final hidden, first to kill an angel hidden stats, strength, 4, intelligence, 4, agility, 18, luck, 4 total stat points, 8. He realized, I've already reached level 9. As he thought, he tapped the battle system board, I should choose agility. He decided, if I try to mark an oath of strength like Youngmin to boost my strength, it would be more effective, but if I put all my points into strength, survival becomes nearly impossible. No matter how strong you are, if you can't dodge a critical hit, you're done for. The system continued displaying player information. Players have 4 stats, strength, intelligence, agility, and vitality. Strength increases physical damage, stamina, and defense. Intelligence enhances magical damage, willpower, and magical defense. Agility boosts attack and movement speed as well as evasion, and luck increases critical hit rate and the drop rates for items and common gold. He glanced around and thought, not a single stat can be neglected. He reasoned that, especially for the Reaper, who uses both physical and magical damage, a balanced stat distribution is ideal. Noticing some unusual movement, he became suspicious. Is someone following me? I wasn't paying attention because I was busy hunting, but it seems I'm being tailed. I haven't wronged anyone to deserve being followed. Ryumin threatened the stranger, I don't know who you are, but show yourself, if you don't reveal your intentions. He continued, I'll make you lose your life. Suddenly, a girl raised her hand and said, It's me. Upon seeing Seo Arin, he thought, is that person an actress? Arin, are you following me? I'm sorry for tailing you. Then a voice echoed, forgive us. He continued, we mean no harm, please, don't be angry. Preming suddenly thought of Chun. He mused, if it's an Sang-chun, isn't he the right-hand man of Guyan Lok? The system then displayed information. Guyan Lok is the eldest son of the country's largest company, and his player nickname is Tien Ma. And he is one of my targets. Luring Guyan Lok would greatly benefit me. But my true goal is to recruit a priest to link with him within the next 20. Ryumin was a bit surprised. He hadn't expected to encounter Magiok's right-hand man so early. But why is Sang-chun with Arin? Hold on, perhaps he is. He still had a little doubt. Why would the bodyguard serve Arin? Arin's face showed a hint of confusion. After a moment, he recalled that there were rumors that Margin Lok was sponsoring a genius for a more important work purpose. Ryumin then asked, since when have you two been following me? When did the future begin to change in such an unexpected way? Arin replied, since the very beginning, when you set off, I saw you enter the forest and then tail behind you. I apologize if it bothered you. Arin, a bit perplexed by Ryumin's question, added, why follow me? It wasn't out of any ill intent, we merely wished to make a proposal. Arin continued, you have to rank first, right? She said urgently, I wonder if we can cooperate. Ryumin smirked and replied, Cooperate, isn't that term used only when both parties actually need one another? He waved his hand dismissively. That's right, but why would I need you? I can fight on my own, don't waste my time, just go back. Ryumin turned and walked away abruptly, saying, I have no intention of forming a team with you two. Sang-chun, with a touch of anger, muttered, that bastard, what's gotten into him, how arrogant can he be? Sang-chun asked, Miss Arin. Arin, a little worried, explained to Sang-chun, it's not that he's suddenly being stubborn, the pressure from him is extremely intense, it's only natural to be afraid when he glares and points his sword at you. Arin, still anxious, said, I wanted to team up with the top-ranked player, but things aren't going as I planned. Sang-chun retorted, what did I say? A guy like him is too arrogant to need allies, what a pity. With tears in his eyes, observing the goblins and the slain bodyguards, he said to Arin, don't waste your time following someone like that, besides, I'm not sure what monsters lie in the forest, I've still got some hunting to do. Arin smiled and replied to Sang-chun, let's go, my bodyguard. Suddenly, a wisp of white smoke appeared in the forest. The goblins were peering around, alert to any danger. From the exit, Ryumin appeared, brandishing his sword straight at Cosplay. After a brief thought, he was exasperated, why even mention cooperation? He pondered for a moment, deciding that his top priority now was to level up, solo play yields experience faster. The system continued displaying, you have defeated Hobgoblin, current kills, 60 out of 100, all stats increased by 60% due to the CNGT effect. Suddenly, a giant clone appeared before Ryumin's eyes. He smirked, 5 non at once, I'm in luck. The blue creatures charged one by one toward Ryumin, shrieking. The non, armed with weapons, leaped up and lunged at Ryumin. He immediately executed a slashing attack, sending the non crashing to the ground. The system then announced, you have defeated non, current kills, 65 out of 100, all stats increased by 60% due to the CNGT effect, you have leveled up, you have reached level 10. He looked decisively at the notification board, you have met the requirements to level up. More notifications appeared on the bulletin board, you have leveled up, you have reached level 10, you have met the requirements to level up, you can now use the shop function, there's also a hidden mission, finally, you level up. He then reviewed the game rules on the bulletin board, round 2 of the side quest for leveling up, before the voting time expires, obtain the level up item and secure a profession, if successful, receive a 50% discount voucher for daily items, for those encountering a side quest for the first time. Some people shouted, but this is confusing, the level up item, leveling up isn't enough, where are we, they don't even tell us what our profession will be in advance. The notifications continued flashing rapidly, everyone knew that obtaining a profession was a good thing, but the issue was that no one knew how to get the level up item. It is usually only awarded when special conditions are met. The game rules display that warriors must raise their strength stat to at least level 10 and defeat 30 monsters within the allotted time. A notification appeared, you have just received the level up item. The game rules remind that even berserkers must hunt and shed blood within the designated time. Additional notes from the rules stated that assassins must successfully assassinate monsters multiple times. In other words, each player must complete the activities related to their profession to receive the level up item. Ryumin leaned against a tree, thinking, at first, I was constantly hunting monsters and hiding in the forest, which is why I ended up with the hunter profession. He grasped the mysterious glowing object in his hand and declared, but once I learned about the assassin profession, I chose it immediately. That mysterious, strangely glowing object in his hand, the system displayed, you have used a level up item. A notification continued, your profession cannot be changed, so choose carefully. Do you want to level up to the assassin profession? Type is or no. After hesitating briefly, he decided to press is. He didn't even have to think twice. The mysterious glowing object in his hand flared even brighter, and the notification read, you have leveled up to the assassin profession. Further notifications appeared regarding the round. Your level up reward is the Assassin's Sigil. Assassin's Sigil effect, when used during the day, your weapon's attack power doubles. When used at night, your attack speed increases by 50%, and while resting at night, the chance of being detected by enemies is greatly reduced. The received sigil automatically imprinted itself on the player's body. The diamond in his hand transformed into a blazing red light that enveloped the area. The system displayed, Ryumin thought, my level up reward is the Assassin's Dagger. I now have both the sigil and the weapon. More notifications followed, You have received a 50% discount voucher for daily items for completing the level up side quest. You have advanced from a novice to a trainee, and your rank has increased accordingly, the status window showed. Name, Ryumin. Nickname, HC Core. Rank, Trainee, Level 10. Profession, Assassin. Title, Time Traveler, the first hidden one, killed the hidden angel. Stats, Strength, 4. Intelligence, 4. Agility, 31. Luck, 4. Stat points, 6. Skill, Assassin's Sigil plus additional bonuses. Players are divided into 6 ranks: Grandmaster, level 99, Master, level 60, Expert, level 40, Normal, level 20, Trainee, level 10, and Novice, level 1. As in other games, as you level up, your rewards increase and you learn new skills. You have learned the Assassin Profession skill, Death Omen. The Assassin skill, Death Omen, creates a sigil that only the target and the caster can see. It displays the target's remaining health, and the target takes an additional 100% damage each time the caster attacks simultaneously. This effect applies to only one target. You can also equip higher level items. The Assassin's Dagger is a rare tier weapon with 25 attack, an effect that adds 1 point of attack with each swing, up to a maximum of 5, and it has a durability of 225. It is limited to trainees and above. The description states that this giant dagger is said to be used by assassins. Novices find it hard to wield. Ryumin pondered the rules. If you don't level up, you'll remain a novice forever, so it's better to level up quickly. As the first player to level up, your reward is a random bag of gold, and you have learned the neutral skill, Tracking. He further deduced, they received a neutral skill, Tracking, which reveals the location of a desired target. However, the target's face and nickname must match to be considered valid. It costs 20,000 gold. Ryumin laughed as he looked at the system display and decided, a skill for 20,000 gold, I have to try it. Tracking it is. Suddenly, an image of someone appeared on the system display. Youngmin, whose name and face matched, was tracking the target's location. A notification instructed, the location of player Youngmin has been identified. He is 190 m from the target. Follow the arrow in front of you to track the target. The beams of light surrounding Ryumin made him think, 190 m ahead, that means he's also entered the forest. He folded his arms, pondering, everything has changed, from being 2 kilometers apart to only 190 m, should I stealthily follow him? Meanwhile, Arin and Sang-chun were running to escape from the forest. Arin, unable to keep her balance, suddenly collapsed to the ground. Out of breath, Arin said to Sang-chun, I can't run any longer, my legs just won't hold up, we have to keep moving, if they catch us. Worried, Sang-chun helped Arin and consoled her, even if your legs hurt, you must endure. I'm sorry, the spot grazed by the arrow is too painful. Though a bit angry, Sang-chun explained to Arin, it's just a theory. They say that even if you get injured in this world, your real body won't be harmed. If you can somehow survive here, you'll be able to return home. Arin replied, I guess I understand. I'll try to bear the pain and run as best as I can with this wound, right? Suddenly, Ion Minute appeared and said, surely it isn't painful enough, is it? Sang-chun swore, damn it. He gritted his teeth, thinking, this bastard moves too slowly, now the whole lot of them are caught. Sang-chun mused, is fighting our only option now? Youngmin laughed provocatively, old man, do you want to fight us? Ion Min's cronies, standing behind him, continued taunting, open your eyes and see how many of us are here before you dare to fight. Sang-chun shouted, why are you guys doing this? What did we ever do to you? Youngmin laughed, of course you haven't done anything, so why are you suddenly attacking us? Youngmin repeated with a smile, of course you haven't done anything, so why are you suddenly attacking us? He said with a provocative look that left Arin somewhat surprised, the little one will stick with the old man. Youngmin continued, since we're all men, I don't need to worry about you old folks at all, what matters is that we want to escort Arin. One person wondered if that kid was really Seoin. At first glance it wasn't obvious, but just by his look, it was clear, this is indeed Seoin. It might also be someone imitating his appearance because they wanted to look like him. Arin, with a grim expression, replied, so what, just having a similar appearance is enough, right? Youngmin offered a compromise, if you let Seo Arin stay, I'll let you go, what do you say? Sang-chun, furious, thought, if Seo Arin was the target, you should have said so from the start. If that were the case, I'd have just left him behind already. He turned to look at Arin and continued thinking, I'm not planning to die because of that kid, but there's a problem. Sang-chun, both worried and fearful, Thought, if I can't protect Seo Arin, director Margin Locke will be very disappointed in me. Suddenly, Sang-chan assumed a ready-to-attack stance toward Ion Minute. Ion Minute, slightly surprised, sneered, what's the point of just standing there? Hey, big brother, you wanna fight? Furious, Sang-chan shouted, do you guys realize that what you're doing is a crime? It's a crime. Laughter suddenly rang out. Youngmin retorted, oh, big brother, you're hilarious. What's with talking about the law here, as if there's any law? Are you planning to report us to the police when we return to the real world? He challenged, go ahead and try, but what proof do you have? This face might not even be my real face in real life. Fuming, Sang-chan muttered under his breath, that's right, this really pisses me off. He then thought that merely talking to de-escalate with Ion Minute wouldn't be enough to make him back off, he'd have to use his battered body to fight them instead. Suddenly, at the base of a tree, Ryumin stood with his arms folded, watching everything. Startled, Sang-chan quickly turned and asked, hey, you. The question that sprang to his mind was, what, huh? Youngmin thought, what is this guy thinking, since when has he? Ryumin stepped forward and asked, Orin, Sang-chan, what are you two doing here? Confused, Youngmin warned Ryumin, hey man, why don't you mind your own business? I'm asking, what's going on here? Sang-chan shouted, I'll be blunt, the target of those guys is Seo Arin. They are ambushing us, if you help us, I'll never forget it, huh? Ryumin asked coldly, is that true or not? Well, what then? Youngmin added, this isn't your business. Suddenly, a stream of red light appeared around Ryumin. What's that about? I know these people, he thought. A bit panicked, Youngmin asked, what do you intend to do? The red beams still enveloped Ryumin as he coldly stated, I won't let them get hurt. Youngmin gritted his teeth in anger and glared at him. Arin happily called out, Sang-chan, quickly, thank you, thank you. Green stepped forward to protect the two of them, thinking, if we do this, it benefits us too. He turned to look at Sang-chan, silently thinking, if I back down, Margin Locke will have a good impression of me. He calculated that if a corporation like that owed him a favor, the rewards would skyrocket, and he'd be repaid handsomely. Then Ryumin turned to look at Ion Min's group and muttered, I don't like those bastards either. He warned, what are you doing? Stay back, or I'll kill you if you come any closer. Ryumin simply stared coldly, saying nothing. Then he smirked and asked, what's the matter? Don't you want to fight me anymore? At that moment, Youngmin was filled with dread, thinking, what the hell are you talking about? He recalled how Ryumin had once torn a horde of demons apart in the blink of an eye. Back then, you even came out on top. If it were me, would you really want to fight a monster like that? Suddenly, a sound startled him, snapping him out of his thoughts. It was the sound of Ryumin flicking his tongue toward the ground, accompanied by the words, if you don't want to fight, then just say so. Youngmin asked, if I speak honestly, will you let me go? He folded his arms and replied bluntly, I'll consider it if you kneel down and beg for your life. In his mind, he realized Ryumin's meaning, you're asking me to humiliate myself. He hesitated amid the astonishment of those around, as his friend stood watching right in front of Arin. Then, looking at Ryumin, he sighed and thought, if possible, I wouldn't want to fight him either, but you've pissed me off, you bastard. Suddenly, Youngmin remembered something, wait a minute. He recalled that he was once strong enough to break through walls with his bare hands, and thought that if he were lucky, he might even knock him down with just one punch. Then he smirked. Soon, Ion Minute started moving and declared, you're crossing the line, you bastard, while his men just stood there, dumbfounded. He shrugged and began walking toward Ryumin, saying, what do you want me to do? Kneel down and beg, do you want to die or what? Yet in his mind, he was already calculating that he would move in and punch him square in the face. And he believed that even Ryumin wouldn't survive that blow. He wasn't sure, wondering how an ordinary person could withstand a punch strong enough to shatter a wall. At that moment, Ryumin no longer stood still, he actively retracted his weapon. Seeing this, Youngmin hesitated and stammered, what are you doing? Are you tossing your weapon aside? He extended his hand confidently and replied, if you fight me barehanded against my armed self, it's a bit unfair, don't you think? Winning that easily would be boring. By now, Youngmin was really pissed off. He sarcastically sneered, Ion Minute, you really are one hell of a bastard. While he was speaking, Ryumin quickly moved. This surprised him immensely. Ryumin swiftly ran over to Youngmin. Youngmin raised his fist with a look of triumph, but inside he was shocked. Ryumin, you stupid bastard, did you really toss your weapon aside and expose your true self like that? He swung his fist, aiming straight at Ryumin's head, determined to kill him. But Ryumin's speed and reflexes were far quicker, and he dodged the punch. Not only did he miss Ion Minute, but he also got punched in the face by him. In the blink of an eye, he was also kicked in the stomach. That kick sent him flying far back. Meanwhile, Ryumin casually retracted his leg, as if it cost him no effort at all. Youngmin lay on the ground, trembling, cursing that bastard. He looked up, and Ryumin's voice rang out right before him, "Stop swearing." After saying that, Ryumin stepped forward and kicked him, sending him reeling backward. The kick sounded so vicious that it made him cry out in pain. Seeing Youngmin struggle to get up, clutching his face, he halted. Seconds later, he grabbed him by the collar. He continuously punched various parts of his face. Youngmin could only endure the pain, feeling that this wasn't an ordinary punch, it felt like a hammer was smashing into his face. He looked up to see Ryumin frenziedly attacking, thinking, is this bastard really as strong as I am? He can't possibly have the same level of strength as me. As he watched the punches being thrown, Youngmin was lost in thought, wondering how he could be so powerful. What he saw was Ryumin's impassive face and his eyes glowing red. At that moment, his teammates could no longer stand by. They raised their weapons and bows, shouting at Youngmin, "Shoot that bastard," which made Ryumin pause his attack. The arrow was already flying toward him. Arin screamed in panic and dodged. He quickly managed to avoid the arrow. The archer, in a state of panic, kept firing while cursing, "Ryumin, die." Yet he continued to dodge every arrow that was shot. He swiftly maneuvered along a narrow path and lunged toward him. In an instant, he appeared next to him, saying, "Surely, your luck in hunting that monster and acquiring a bow was just a fluke, wasn't it?" A remark that horrified him. Ryumin raised his hand, transforming it into his sickle, and laughed, "Too bad for you, just as I was about to swing my sickle, now you face me." The hand holding the bow had been slashed off. Everything happened so quickly that he couldn't react. A wave of pain hit him, and he collapsed, crying out, "My hand." Even as he cursed Ryumin with profanity, the other two behind him, though terrified, still gripped their weapons and retorted, "You think you can mess with us and just walk away?" Then, one of them, wielding a dagger, charged at him, shouting, "Die, you bastard." Ryumin calmly asked, "Is that what you think?" Then he activated the skull mark on the head of the dagger wielder, which emitted a red glow. Ryumin swung his sickle backward. Then he swung it forward in one swift motion. The force of that swing sliced across the man's leg. In an instant, his leg was severed, and he screamed and fell down. The remaining man, witnessing this, trembled in fear, his legs shaking uncontrollably. Even as he watched what had just happened, Ryumin quickly lunged forward. Before the man could react, Ryumin appeared right beside him, saying, "How dare you attack me with a weapon? You've got some guts, I'll give you that." Even though the sickle was swung, despite wearing armor, his arm was still severed. He looked at his blood-stained arm, crying out in pain as the skull symbol appeared on his head. Ryumin then glanced back, noting that this skull mark, dealing double damage, meant that one swing could shatter even the toughest armor. Surveying the scene, he saw that no one was unscathed, everyone was writhing in pain on the ground. He thought, "This is too easy." He fell silent, deep in thought, realizing he couldn't end everything like this. The hand wielding the sickle moved, prompting the man sitting on the ground to cry out in astonishment. Ryumin decided he must further instill fear so that they would never dare approach him again. The archer, with both thighs deeply slashed, trembled, unable to stand. The dagger wielder attacked him, weakly begging, "Please, stop." The other, his face ashen, pleaded, "I'm about to die, please spare me." Ryumin swung his blood-stained, emotionless sickle and said, "Talk less, until you bleed a little, you won't die." He sighed, "That's it for these guys, next." Then he glanced over somewhere else. Looking toward the base of the tree where Ironmin was hiding, he remarked, "They're useless anyway." When the sickle was swung, no one was spared. Regrettably, the sickle aimed at Ironmin's hand. His fate was the same as the other three. Ryumin coldly said, "Quit your crying like a child, I know that's not all there is." Recalling how, in the past, he and his friends were miserably bullied by him, Ryumin thought that what he had endured then was nothing compared to the pain he was now inflicting. Ryumin then swung his sickle again, mercilessly severing Ironin's remaining arm. Arin and Shongchun stood silently, watching the horrific scene accompanied by Ironmin's cries. Shongchun, horrified, frowned as he saw Ryumin ruthlessly cutting off both of his opponent's arms, even though the man had already lost the will to fight. He watched as Ryu-min chopped off Ionin's body parts one after another, thinking that while some might call it cruel, he admired someone so cold-hearted. Shang-chun, trembling and sweating, said, "HC-ku, you dare defy even the guild leader?" He stood up and asked the two, "You all right?" Looking at the man in front of him, Shang-chun replied, "Yes, thanks to you." Ryu-min pointed toward the group of Iron Men, declaring, "You don't need to worry about them anymore, as you see, they're all crippled, so it's best we slowly vote them off." Arin and Shang-chun immediately bowed their heads in gratitude, saying, "Thank you so much, HC-ku." Arin hesitantly looked up and asked, "But aren't they going to die soon?" He turned and looked at them with disdain. "If that's the case, they're no better than vermin." When he looked back, he saw her bowing her head in hesitation. She was too weak. Ryu-min wondered why she cared about the lives of these bastards. Acting like a saint isn't enough. Perhaps she was just trying to maintain her image as a celebrity. Suddenly, Shang-chun spoke up, "You, HC-ku." He politely raised his hand and asked, "May I ask something? I hope you don't mind. Why is your hand in your pocket? What's going on?" Noticing the murmurs among the Iron Man group, he continued, "I'm curious. Why spare them in this world? Wouldn't it be a trivial matter if you killed them?" Young Min, with his pitiful demeanor, was startled upon hearing those words. He laughed, "Really, I appreciate you. Truly, you are Magiox's right-hand man." Looking at these miserable souls, he simply replied, "Killing them brings no profit." Shang-chun asked, "No profit?" He explained, "After all, if we leave them as they are, they might cause trouble in the future." Ryu-min looked at the group and said, "They can only cause trouble if they remain in one place." He smirked, "And what if they do?" He then continued, "Besides, reducing the population isn't good either. Fewer participants means fewer people crossing over." This explanation finally convinced Shang-chun. He bowed in agreement. "As you said, if the number of participants drops, the number of people passing through will also decrease." He looked at Ryu-min admiringly, noting that he even considered these aspects. His understanding of the game was remarkably different. "I'm truly impressed by him." Shang-chun sighed, "I understand. We'll stop worrying about these scraps." Ryu-min immediately turned and left, saying, "I'm off then," but Shang-chun called after him, "Hey, HC-ku." He said, "I want to repay you for saving my life. If you give me your account number, I'll send you a token of gratitude in the real world." Ryu-min, not stopping, curtly replied, "Enough." Watching his retreating figure, Shang-chun was suspicious, thinking, he helps others without expecting any reward. He silently resolved to report this to the guild leader immediately. Young Min's whimpering had caught his attention. Although he wanted to kill them, he restrained himself, remembering HC-ku's words that killing them would bring no benefit. He spat on Ionin's head, mocking those bastards, then ordered, "Let's go." Ionin responded, "Understood." At the place where everyone had gathered to vote, the noise was overwhelming with shouts and arguments. "Please, hand over all your votes to me. Vote for me as your regional representative. I will do a better job than him." Two men began arguing and shoving each other. "You fat-ass pig," one yelled. The other, furious, retorted, "What did you say? How dare you call me that?" Seeing the conflict, everyone turned to intervene, advising, "Both of you, stop fighting. Even if we team up, we're too weak. What good will fighting do?" Taking the opportunity to mediate, he raised his hand and said, "Those who are easily agitated aren't fit to be representatives. Let me handle this." "Raise your hand. Wait a minute."